Hey, what's up, Minnie? How's it going? Testing. Hey, 1, 2, 3. Minnie? How's it going? All right. It's going well. Just got off work. Posted up right here with my homie Carlo the Husky dog. He's taking a nap. It's about 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time over here in Los Angeles, California. And it's like 100 degrees out there. It's nice and cool though in here in my office right now though, because I got the AC on. I don't normally turn the AC on because of Donald Trump's expensive economy. Under Biden, I was able to turn my AC on a lot more. But now that Trump's been president, I'll only turn on the AC if it's real hot. I mean, Donald Trump's saying he's making the country real hot, but like when he's talking about hot, he's talking about weather-wise because he's over there destroying the environment with his drill baby drill. But anyways, Karoline Leavitt looks like she's back from her maternity leave. She had like a kid or something with her 80-year-old husband. But yeah, we're going to check out Karoline Leavitt's press conference that she did today. And it looks like Donald Trump's going to do some speech later on crying about the 2020 elections. So we'll just stay live until that happens. And in the meantime, we'll just have a YouTubeville watch party hanging out until that happens. So we'll watch... I got some clips in the queue. We got this Karoline Leavitt. We got John Ossoff. We got those clowns, Stephen Miller and Narco Bubio. We'll check out what those clowns have to say. And Al Green had a powerful speech from Capitol Hill today. We'll see what he has to say. But anyways, hope you're all having a good Thursday out there. Please hit the like button. Feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. Appreciate it. All right, here we go, guys. This is Karoline Leavitt here. So keep in mind every single thing she says is nothing but lies, but we're watching it to fact check these clowns.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be back with all of you. It's good to see you.
Hey, what's up? What's up, JFO? Yeah, well, we're going to do a pregame. We're going to be pre-gaming until Donald Trump goes to the podium and starts crying about the 2020 elections because I guess he's having some kind of speech later. So as soon as that happens, we'll tap into that. But in the meantime, we'll watch some other current events that happened around the nation regarding these politicians.
In this room, I'm glad everybody showed up today. Let's get back to work. We're going to begin with a few scheduling announcements. Tonight, as you all know, at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern, President Trump will deliver a major address to the nation on protecting the integrity of our elections, and we encourage every American to tune in. On Friday, the president will travel to New York City to attend a FIFA reception at Trump Tower, followed by his attendance on Sunday at the FIFA World Cup between Spain and Argentina. His attendance will cap what has been the most watched, most secure, and most successful World Cup in American history. This is a fitting conclusion to a tournament that showcased America's ability to host the world on the grandest stage. Turning now to the economy. Tuesday's CPI report confirmed what President Trump predicted. Prices are falling, and this administration's economic policies are working. Inflation dropped.
Do these people think we're stupid or something? Like everything's doubled in price under Trump. Like literally, like my coffee that I usually buy was $5. Now it's like $10. These people are crazy. Just gaslighters.
0.4% last month. beating expectations and marking the largest monthly decline in more than 6 years. Prices fell, including for gasoline, electricity, non-prescription drugs, car insurance, medical care services, and hotels, delivering relief for American working families. We also saw real weekly earnings rise in the month of June. For private sector,
I can't believe there's MAGA cult members out there falling for this crap. Like, how dumb can one be to not see everything just up in price? And these people are over here saying, "Oh, everything's lower in price. Everything's going up in price."
real wages have increased by roughly $1,000 since President Trump took office.
Oh, God.
After falling nearly $3,000.
Now they're trying to say the average wages have gone up $1,000. Man, these people are smoking some crack.
Previous administration. This is real progress made possible by the president's pro-growth economic agenda. There is still more work to do, no doubt, which is why President Trump remains laser focused on lowering costs and raising wages for working families across the country. Just last week, Walmart and Sam's Club announced they will be lowering prices on thousands of items in their stores across the country. Shoppers can expect meaningful savings on groceries, household essentials, outdoor living products, toys, apparel, and other everyday staples. As President Trump said, Walmart answered his call and stepped up in a big way, and we commend them for that.
Hey, what's up, Amber Leslie? Hey, what up? What up? Oh yeah, I heard somebody got their teleprompter guy got fired for doing inside bets, which is hilarious because the whole Trump regime, they're all corrupt.
Major retailer.
What up, Amber Leslie? Hope you're having a good day. Thanks for tuning in. What's up, JFO? What's up, Minnie?
Delete.
What's up, Liquid Sky? Oh God, Liquid Sky. Come on, man. Put down the Kool-Aid, dude. Do yourself a favor, man. Everything this lady's saying is just lies. How can you believe anything she says, dude? Anyways, hope you're having a good day out there. Thanks for tuning in.
Patriotic American company. While we're on the subject of helping working families get ahead, I want to remind everyone that the Trump accounts are now officially live.
Oh God, the grift continues. Now we got the Trump accounts. What a bunch of crooks. You know, in the fine print on those Trump accounts, you gotta sign away your soul and your DNA, and they'll probably own your organs. Elon Musk will put a chip in you if you don't, if you want that Trump account.
To date, and this is a new stat from the Council of Economic Advisors this morning, more than 6.5 million American children have been signed up for accounts so far, including my 2 kids, who I signed up during my maternity leave. There are a few things I want to make clear about this massively beneficial program and that has the potential to literally
Hey, what's up? What's up, News Troll? Yeah, we're doing all right, Amber. Thanks for asking. Appreciate it. Just going through a heat wave over here. We got Donald Trump destroying the world, but other than that, not doing too bad.
the financial future of this country. First, any child under the age of 18 is eligible to have a Trump account opened in his or her name. This is a free investment savings account that costs nothing to open. Second, thanks to President Trump, every child born between January 1st, 2025 and December 31st, 2028 will receive a $1,000 seed deposit from the United States Treasury. Third, parents, guardians, relatives, and friends can contribute up to $5,000 per year combined for each child. Employers can also contribute up to $2,500 per year on a tax-favored basis, counting toward the annual cap. The president believes there is no better investment than in America's children. Government projections show that a child whose family maxes out contributions could see the account grow to nearly $300,000 by the time the child turns 18. This is, I think we can all agree, an enormously powerful head start toward the American dream. These funds can be used for college, starting a business, or purchasing a home. This is truly a transformational, nonpartisan program. So I encourage everyone listening with a child to establish a Trump account today for your child and tell everyone you know with children to do the same. The app is also incredibly inviting and easy.
She meant to say, and tell every kid you know that has blonde hair and blue eyes you know. Because those are the only ones that'll qualify.
for parents at home. Finally, let's turn to the border. Brand new numbers this week from the Department of Homeland Security and Customs and Border Protection confirm that for the 14th straight month, this administration has released 0 illegal aliens into the United States. Again, let me reiterate, the 14th straight month.
Hey, what's up? What's up, Christian? How you been? Hope you had a good day. And thanks for tuning in.
Single illegal criminal alien has been entered into our country, released into our country by this administration. Illegal crossings in June remained at historic lows, and Southwest border apprehensions are down 94% compared to the same period under the Biden administration. These numbers speak for themselves. Thanks.
Oh my God, I need to smoke a bong load to listen to this lady. I'm gonna pack a bong load right now. Smoke some hippie lettuce.
Trump's strong leadership and unwavering commitment to law enforcement, America has the most secure border we have ever had in our nation's history. The administration continues working to reverse the previous influx of millions of illegal aliens into our country by the Biden administration, and our law enforcement professionals, God bless them, are arresting criminal illegal aliens across the country, including those convicted of the most heinous and violent crimes. This past weekend alone, ICE arrested a Mexican national and gang member convicted of second-degree murder in California, a Dominican national convicted of aggravated manslaughter in New Jersey, a Saudi national convicted of indecent liberties with a child in North Carolina.
Hey, what's up, News Troll? Hey, that's right. 420's coming up. Perfect timing. I'm packing it up right now. I got my nugget right here. Let me see if I can pull it up. What the hell? All right. Let's blaze it up, yo. Smoke them if you got them. But if you don't smoke, have your favorite glass of tea or beer or whatever. I actually just did a job for this really nice lady, and she gave me a bottle of champagne. I'm gonna throw it in the fridge right now.
A Mexican national convicted of continuous sexual abuse of a child in California. A Nicaraguan national convicted of second-degree child molestation in Rhode Island, and a Mexican national convicted of lewd acts with a child under 14 with force in California. These are egregious crimes, and again, I think we can all agree that none of you would want these individuals living in your communities, and you have this administration to thank that they are on their way back home. The American people delivered a decisive mandate to arrest and deport these dangerous criminals, and President Trump is wholeheartedly committed to delivering on that mandate every day. He will never waver in his duty to defend our homeland and protect the American people, and he has proven without a shadow of doubt that the chaos and the lawlessness that we saw every single day at the border and across our country under the Biden administration was a choice, and it is a choice that this president has chosen not to make. While this work is far from finished, the border is secure, and deportations will continue. With that, I'll take your questions today. I look forward to doing so. I know there's a lot of news. We have two people in our new media seats today, Rachel Bain and Ben Black. Rachel, why don't you kick us off? Ben will give you a question, and we'll get to the rest of all of you. Thanks, Rachel.
Thanks, Caroline. Welcome back to Breaking News. Congrats on your baby. Two questions,
Sure.
if I may. The first one, a fun one for your first day back. You now have two babies under 2 years old.
I do.
Hey, what's up? What's up, Nikolai? Hey, you're hilarious. You might need 6 or 7 nugs to listen to Trump's speech tonight. That's funny. Check it out. I actually bought a half ounce to listen to Trump's speech tonight. Yeah, this is what I'm gonna need to listen to Trump's speech. That's hilarious.
As someone who has a 4-year-old, I can only imagine how little you are sleeping right now. What is your one tip or secret to women who want to have it all? The kids and the hard charging.
Well, thanks for the question, Rachel, and it is really good to be back with all of you. I don't think there is a secret. You just have to show up every day and keep going.
It was actually 12 grams.
And it really does take a village. Take the opportunity to shout out to my husband who's home with our babies right now. I look forward to returning home later to be with them, but it's challenging. But for me, I
go to this local dispensary and I get so they sell 7 grams. They have like different shelves. They have like the exclusive. They have like basically like 4 stages. Like the bottom 2, like I'm not messing with those. But like I usually go with like the third tier shelf, which is, I think they call it like exclusive. So they'll do like 7 grams of like for $40 of like, and they got like 5 different strains to choose from, and they're always pretty good. I found that sometimes getting them from the 3rd shelf is usually better than the top shelf sometimes. So I just go with the 3rd shelf. But anyways, I go at happy hour and they give you like an extra 5 grams for free. So for $40 I get 12 grams. Which is pretty good, in my opinion.
More than job, I view this as public service on behalf of a president who I firmly believe in everything this administration is doing and really creating a better country for my children and their future. And I'm very grateful for that. Blessed to both be working in this job, but also to have 2 beautiful babies at home. And as you know, Rachel, and any mom in this room knows, there's nothing better than being a mother. So thanks for the question.
You're the best. Okay, a question about tonight. There are a lot of Republicans in this town who very much support the Say That. And
hey, Nikolai, I mean, it's getting to the point where Donald Trump's speeches are making me want to just go get a bottle of whiskey, which I'm not gonna do though, because drinking's not good. I mean, to each their own. I'm trying to stay away from drinking, especially in these times. Got to stay sharp.
our elections are upheld, election integrity, top priority for them. But some of them are concerned that tonight's primetime address might focus on, elections of the past, or relitigating them rather than voter principles.
Hey, what's up? What's up, Dre G's? Yeah, for sure. I just like to stick to the buds. But anyways, what's up, Dre? What's up, Mike? What's up, Rob? Rilo? What up, Amber? News Troll, Minnie? Hey, shout out to all the mods out there. Appreciate you guys. And we got free speech over here, guys. So don't get intimidated by the mods. They're all cool. They're here to make sure just to hang out. But yeah, they keep an eye on anyone that tries to spam. That way, we can all have a nice interaction in the chat. We can let our opinions be known because everyone's different. We're not trying to be like the maggots over there trying to make the whole world look like Jeff Bezos. We're very diverse, so everyone's opinions are welcome.
Of today, I'm wondering, can you tell us if the president tonight is going to talk about the economy? You just talked a lot about the economy and what we're seeing there. And what does the White House say to Republicans who are worried that election issues like this could actually turn off swing voters?
Well, a few things. I would encourage everyone to tune in tonight. I've seen a lot of reporting and frankly misreporting about what the president will say. I think the American people will be relieved to hear what they are hearing from the president of the United States and his commitment to transparency and the focus on the integrity of our election.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's all shits and giggles. Until someone giggles and shit. So, just friendly banter. People are going to talk their shit, whatever. Just as long, me personally, I just don't take anything personal. Whatever, and then it's nice to be able to hear everyone from around the world though. So I appreciate anyone that's here hanging out and letting yourselves be heard, because we all want to be heard and we all want to hear what everyone has to say.
Tonight, I think all Republicans and Democrats should recognize this should be a nonpartisan issue. If we don't have safe and secure elections in our country, we cannot have a country. It is a vital part of our democracy, of our constitutional republic. The president will be speaking about that tonight. And in addition,
Oh yeah, for sure, JFO. Yeah, I'm in my mid 40s now, so I feel it even more. But and I didn't really drink through my 20s. I did most of my drinking through my 30s. And then, but yeah, I partied pretty hard in my 30s, playing pool and stuff around Los Angeles, and just having a good time, going to concerts and stuff. But yeah, I was able to like drink before and like go to work the next day. Now it takes me like, if I were to drink like, I don't know, some like whiskey and some beers, it'll probably take me like 3 days to like recover,
Time, of course, he has worked.
which I can't afford to do anymore. Gotta pay bills.
Economic issues that the American people have at home. I just read to you the latest inflation numbers are looking good, the best report in 6 years. The president, Republicans and Democrats and all Americans have this president to thank for the largest tax cuts in American history, which every Democrat on Capitol Hill voted against. You have this president to thank for the Trump accounts for our children and securing the future of the.
I mean, don't get me wrong though. Having some drinks here and there with some friends, drinking responsibly, there's nothing wrong with that. But right now, I'm just, with the way things are going right now and so much going on, I want to try to stay focused and sharp, but I look forward to the day where, I can just relax and enjoy some cocktails with some friends and play some pool, listen to some music.
So this president is doing a lot, but obviously safe and secure elections are a true tenet of our constitutional republic, and the president will be speaking about that tonight. Thank you. And Ben, please.
So I'm from England. I've been following the World Cup all around, absolutely loving it. Unfortunately, we got knocked out last night, so I'd love to ask the
Sorry,
favour.
tough day for you today.
Yeah, it's all good though. But I want to know, so all these football fans coming to America, absolutely having a great time. I've had an amazing time. What do you want these football fans to take away from their time in America?
Sure. Well, I'm so glad you enjoyed your experience here in our country, and sorry for the loss. We look forward to the final match on Sunday, and I know the president looks forward to attending, but I think the world saw that this president and this country is able to put on the greatest show in sports in the world. And we are a kind people, we are hardworking people, and we have the best country on the planet. And I know I've loved seeing the videos from foreigners from around the world who have traveled to the United States, and I've been quite surprised about how lovely and enjoyable the United States is. I don't think we get enough credit from the international media around the world, but we encourage everyone to come and experience America for themselves. So thanks for being here. And safe travels home. You're welcome. Garrett.
Welcome back.
Good to see you.
Likewise. To the degree that this speech tonight is about elections past, not elections upcoming, the 2020 election has had dozens of recounts, lawsuits, audits. 2024 election widely believed to be safe and secure. There's not really any question about that. A lot of people
Because it was too big to rig.
Well, I think a lot of people look at this
There's a
and
massive amount of votes for this president. That's why he's in the Oval Office.
Yeah, Donald Trump doesn't make any sense. So they're saying, oh, the 2024 election was like too big to rig and it's fail-safe. So check it out. So the 2020 election, Trump was in power. And then the 2024 election, Biden was in power. So Trump just doesn't make any sense. Like if the 2020 election was rigged, like Trump was in power, like he would have rigged it in his favor.
no one disputes that. There were a significant amount of votes for Joe Biden who won in 2020. And the question is, why is the president unable to let this go?
Well, first of all, Garrett, I think part of the problem is that the media has refused to acknowledge that tens of millions of Americans across the country share the concerns of this president about the sanctity of our elections. And your premise of your question, you're jumping ahead to a conclusion in this speech before even hearing it yourself. I think that everyone should tune in tonight, including the people in this room, and you should report on the president's speech and the findings that he is going to reveal in this speech with a little bit of honesty and a little bit of integrity, because it will shock you if you have an honest eye listening to the president tonight, and everything he is saying will be backed by
no, at this point, nothing Trump does will shock us. You guys have already done so much evil stuff.
by facts and by evidence that will be provided this evening. And again, Garrett, I think all Americans, Democrat, Republican, should agree that we are the greatest country in the history of the world. We should have the safest and most secure elections in the history of the world. And what the president will be speaking about tonight will show you that perhaps that is not the case, and we need to make some adjustments moving forward, including the Save America Act, as Rachel pointed out, is a key legislative priority for this president on Capitol Hill, and he wants to see all senators and members of Congress voting in favor of the Save America Act because it's crucially important as we move forward. Aisha.
Caroline, welcome back.
Thank you.
The pink is for your baby girl.
You know, I didn't think that, but I guess it is now.
Thank you. We've talked a little bit about what the president might say tonight, but the other question is, who's running the teleprompter tonight after this report that the other guy is now under investigation for making money reading the president's speech?
Obviously, I'm aware of the report. The president is too. I spoke with him about it. He believes it's deeply unfortunate and frankly a disgrace. And the individual that was cited in that report is complying with the CFTC but has been put on paid administrative leave. So there will be a teleprompter operator tonight, of course, but it will not be the one, unfortunately, in that story.
More on Iran. The Vice President, Jake Vance, went on this podcast with Joe Rogan yesterday, talked about Israel, in which he said that there are some people within their system that we know beyond a shadow of a doubt who are manipulating and trying to change American public opinion to keep the war going on indefinitely. Does the president agree with that statement?
I think the president would certainly agree that yes, foreign countries certainly do try to persuade American public opinion. There's no doubt about that. I think it's just a basic fact. Ed.
Good to see you, Caroline. Following up on the teleprompter and then one on tonight's speech. What steps is the White House taking to ensure something like that doesn't happen again?
Well, the White House has extremely strict ethical guidelines with respect to issues like this. And as I just told you, this individual will no longer be here. He'll be on paid administrative leave. I'm sorry, without pay. The administrative leave is unpaid, to be very clear. That was a decision by the president. So I think that speaks for itself.
On the concerns about the election, will the president accept the results of November's elections?
Look, Ed, you should tune into the president's speech tonight before you jump ahead to conclusions about what's actually in the speech. Again, I've seen a lot of reporting and misreporting about what the president will say. We hope CBS will take the speech and all Americans should take it.
Good, but I'm not presuming it. I already accepted the results.
Two questions on the Trump account. First, following the birthright citizenship case, is there concern that babies that are born to illegal immigrants here in the United States are not excluded from these accounts? And also, since the $1,000 per child from the Treasury seeds these accounts, can you raise concerns for those who feel this is wealth redistribution?
I would certainly not describe it as that. As you know, this was an incredible private-public partnership. We had incredibly generous Americans, Michael Dell, and many others who contributed to the fund for the Trump accounts. So that money will then be passed along to America's children, which I think is a great thing that all Americans from all political persuasions can agree upon. With respect to your question on birthright citizenship, I think the president has made his view and the White House has made our view on this case quite clear. We're going to continue to move forward to work with Congress, hopefully in the future, to remedy this problem in our country. And to ensure that we cannot have this scam continuing where you have foreigners from all around the world traveling to our country to give birth to babies who are then given the greatest privilege on the face of the planet, American citizenship. That's not how our founding fathers intended this country to work or to operate, and the administration is committed to finding solutions to remedy that.
Access to the Trump accounts, those are children of those illegal aliens?
That's not something I've discussed directly with the president, so I don't want to speak out of turn on that. As you know, Carrie, all American citizen children are able to access the Trump accounts as it stands right now. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mark Stone from Sky News. Can I switch to Iran, please?
Sure.
Specifically, they began a school attack. 120 children dead, 26 of their teachers. A Sky News investigation released today points to all this being a tragic mistake by America, by the US military. So could you explain, please, why the president is repeatedly saying it wasn't America, when he hasn't actually, he says also that he hasn't even seen the report?
I can't speak to the Sky News investigation respectfully because I have not read it. All I can speak to is what the president has said as I speak on his behalf, and the investigation continues, and we would defer you to the Department of War for further questions.
Following up, if I may.
Sure.
I just want to understand.
Not going to change.
I just want to understand why he consistently says it wasn't us, we didn't do this, when all the evidence and indeed the preliminary report and we've spoken to a military insider who says this was human error.
Well, that's the president's opinion, and at the very same time, he has said the Department of War is investigating the matter, and we would defer you to them for any questions with respect to the investigation, which obviously has not been released yet. I would defer you to them for further questions on it. But I think the president feels that way because he knows that our military always acts in good faith and absolutely never targets civilians or children, unlike the other side of this conflict, Iran, who is well known for killing women and children and innocent people in their country for a very long time. So you should focus on that in your reporting.
Another World Cup question.
Sure.
President Trump had some harsh words for Spain at the NATO summit last week about their spending. Does that mean he's going to be supporting Argentina?
Danny, it is a really good question, and I'm disappointed in myself for not asking the president before I came out here, knowing you would probably ask. I haven't talked to him about it, but we'll get you an answer on that. You're welcome to ask him yourself at some point before the game. I'm sure you'll see him, and I'm sure he'll have a fun answer for you on it. Sure, in the middle, go ahead. Sure, Jasmine, go ahead. Thanks.
Back on the teleprompter issue, notice reported earlier this year that Kalshi was inaccessible on the Wi-Fi that journalists here at the White House have access to. Are staffers back in the West Wing and other parts of the EOB, et cetera, do they have access to Kalshi and Play Market on their Wi-Fi?
On our work computers? Honestly, I've never tried, so I don't know. But I'm happy to go try and get you an answer on that. In the back, Reagan. Sure. I just wonder if Jasmine go ahead and then Reagan.
Are there any other White House staffers or people within the administration who are suspected of also placing bets on Kalshi or Play Market or other things with some of this privileged information?
Not to my knowledge, not that I've been made aware of. And as you saw, I think this played out exactly how it should. Kalshi notified the CFTC of suspicious activity. They investigated that, identified the individual, and he will now no longer be working at the White House. So I think that answers all the questions on this matter. Reagan.
Caroline, I have a question for you on the Save America Act and Senator Graham, and then a quick question on Iran.
Sure.
Trump said in one of his final conversations with the late Senator Graham that he was talking about the Save America Act and that felt like they were in a great position with it. Do you anticipate that the Senate is going to be more aggressive to push the Save America Act in light of the fact that it was so important to Senator Graham so close to his time?
Sure. Well, since I haven't had the opportunity, let me just express my sincere condolences to Senator Graham's staff and his family. He was beloved by so many here at the White House, especially the president, and I know that the news of his sudden passing was just tragic to all of us, especially the president, who considered him a dear friend. The Save America Act, as I said, Reagan, is of vital importance to this president, and he wants to see it move forward. I understand that Capitol Hill and Speaker Johnson are moving forward with attaching as many elements of the Save America Act as possible to the Budget Reconciliation 3.0. Here we go. The president is supportive of that process, and he hopes that Republicans will vote for this important piece of legislation. The Budget Reconciliation bill not only will address the Save America Act, but also ensure important aid for our farmers and our war fighters, which the president supports as well. Brian.
Caroline, welcome back.
Thank you.
On the Kalshi situation, I have just a few questions on that.
Sure.
This individual has been accused of making trades around the president's speeches for months. I mean, this has been going on since at least earlier this year, maybe even before that. Did the White House counsel have any awareness that this was going on with this individual? And if not, why not? Was there any sort of plan in place to try to figure this out and see if anyone else is doing this, or to track future people from, see if they were making these types of bets in the White House? Any discussions around that?
Look, there are very strict ethical guidelines here at the White House that explicitly state not to do this. And the White House counsel's office makes that clear to all of us who sign up to work in government on behalf of the president. So I think there has been a plan in place. This individual unfortunately violated the plan, and therefore he's paying the consequences for it. I don't know why there's further questions on it.
But then just like that, leave open the possibility, even though there are the rules, and there's no disputing those strict rules on this. But if there are no mechanisms in place, and then I'm not saying that there are, there should and should not be, but if there are none in place to try to track this happening inside the White House and inside the executive branch of the government, doesn't that leave open a possibility for this to keep happening or happening again, and these result in people making bets like this inside the administration?
Again, there are very strict ethical requirements required by all staffers and officials here at the White House, and if they are violated, people will pay consequences for that, as you're seeing with this case. Thank you.
I have a question about Senator McConnell, but first on Iran. President Trump has now greenlit strikes on Iran for nearly every day this week. Do you, and does the White House describe negotiations more at a standstill or essentially completely over?
Well, I've spoken with the president about this as recently as an hour ago. Iran very much continues to talk to the United States of America and express that they want to make a deal with us because they are suffering devastating blows on behalf of our United States military. The reason, and this is important for the American people to understand, the reason for the recent strikes over the course of the last several days is because Iran violated the Memorandum of Understanding that we struck with them. Specifically, in the Memorandum of Understanding that they signed, they were not to fire on commercial vessels moving through the Strait of Hormuz. And unfortunately, they have made the tragic decision for them to do that. And President Trump is not going to sit by and allow these active acts of terrorism to take place in the Strait without ensuring Iran pays consequences for that, and that's what we are witnessing right now.
I talked to him about this within the last hour. I mean, does he essentially seem fed up with these negotiations? And can you explain why the American people should think that a deal with Iran would even be worthwhile at this point, given the fact that they broke it already?
Well, look at how bad they are behaving. It just proves the president's initial point for launching Operation Epic Fury in the first place. Iran can never obtain a nuclear weapon. That's why he launched Operation Epic Fury. They have suffered devastating blows to their military and their economy as a result. The president is always open and willing to diplomacy. He is the peace through strength president after all. After Operation Epic Fury, the conclusion of it, we did move forward into a diplomatic phase, if you will. But unfortunately, Iran has since violated that. They have expressed they still want to make a deal to the president. We're talking to them, but again, the president is not going to allow them to fire on ships in the Strait without paying a consequence for that. And I think just one more point, I think throughout this entire endeavor, the president has proved not just to Iran, but to the entire world that we can hit Iran anytime, anywhere, any place, and their ability to defend themselves has been essentially wiped out because of this president and Operation Epic Fury in the first place. Sure. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Welcome back.
Thank you.
2 questions for you. If I can read 2 comments, one made by President Trump and one made by the Vice President on Iran. President Trump recently said, as far as I'm concerned, it's just a waste of time dealing with them. They're liars. There's something wrong with them. They are cuckoo. They are scum, sick people, vicious, violent people. And then Vice President Vance went on Joe Rogan last night and he said, I'm very frustrated by the Americans and frankly by people in other countries who say you cannot negotiate with the Iranians. So your response to these contradictions, because I think you can understand how that's confusing for Americans with this mixed messaging. And then second question for you, at least 6 Americans are still detained in Iran. Will President Trump make this conditional, a point of condition in continuing these conversations with the country as well as political prisoners and also people that are still being executed in Iran to this day?
Sure. To your second question.
Yeah, guys, I'm kind of bummed out. I just got monetized like 3 days ago. So check it out. So like 3 months ago, I got demonetized. I guess I showed like the Trump's golden toilet, and they demonetized me like 3 months ago. So I was like, all right, cool, whatever. No sweat off my nutsack. I don't care. It's not like, I depend on it. It's not like my main source of income or anything like that. So I was like, whatever, I'll just wait 90 days to reapply. So 90 days went by, and I reapplied, and they accepted me. So not even 3 days later, which is today, I just got an email that they demonetized me. I guess they don't like hearing the truth, but whatever. I don't even care. I guess I could reapply in 90 days again, but screw all that. I'm just every once in a while I'll just throw, I'm just gonna keep on going at it, because I'm not really in it for like that kind of thing, anyways. A lot of these grifters out there, they're in it for like cash and whatever. Obviously it helps, but I'm in it to keep the blue wave tsunami going, guys. So everyone do the blue wave tsunami. I'm gonna keep on going. Screw the monetization because I want to be able to say what I want to say, so I'm not gonna be censored. But anyways, I'll just every once in a while I'll just throw my links in there.
create a red line or a condition on behalf of the president without his blessing. I haven't heard him say that, but obviously ensuring the return of Americans wrongfully detained or held hostage over.
It's funny. I didn't even do anything wrong either. They just sent me an email saying, "Oh, we demonetized you for not meeting like the YouTube partner program or something like that." I'm like, "Oh, whatever. I'm not even gonna try to appeal it. I'm over it. I'm over that. Just gonna keep the blue wave going."
Remains a priority for him, and he has done so in a tremendous way over the course of the last year and a half. Americans from all over the world have returned home thanks to this president and the efforts of his national security team. To your first question about the comments.
Hey, what up, Finn Von Smith? Oh yeah, for sure. That's why a lot of these channels, they always gotta all watch what they say because they don't want to get demonetized. Like, but then again, I see some of these like right-wing channels just talking the stupidest shit, you know, like bashing Muslims and trans people and like LGBTQ, and they're over there getting donations. Just makes me sick to my stomach that there's people that support those kinds of bigots out there.
President and the vice president, respectfully, I do think you're taking comments from different times throughout this conflict and kind of asking me if these are contradictory of each other. I can tell you the president and vice president are on the exact same page about where we are right now in this conflict. And the fact that you do see elements of what's remaining in the Iranian regime that are more willing to make a deal, and then other elements who are not so maybe willing to make a deal, shows that Operation Epic Fury was incredibly effective because we neutered their ability to communicate with one another, and they are a fragmented system. They are not the once very strong, powerful terrorist state that they were before this operation, which was one of the ultimate goals. So we'll continue to work through the process, and as I said, the president will hold them accountable when they turn their back on the words that they state to the United States, but he is always open to diplomacy at the very same time.
Thank you, Caroline. Sure. Regarding the president's speech tonight, he's been in office over 540 days now. If what he says tonight is backed up by evidence, why hasn't anyone been charged?
Well, he hasn't revealed it yet. He hasn't declassified the documents yet, and you will see what he says tonight, and then we'll move forward appropriately from.
Yeah, it's all good. It's not a big deal. I'm already over it because I'm not even surprised by it because I'm not even in it for the money anyways. You know, obviously any donations help, but you know, I'm watching this stuff anyways, so it's nice to interact with people around the world. So that's the main thing is spread positivity, you know. And keep this blue wave tsunami going because screw those Trump ball-licking MAGA supporters.
From the Justice Department?
I don't speak on behalf of the Justice Department, Caitlin, you know that. Rachel,
Will there be charges?
you'll have to ask the Justice Department. I don't charge people. I just speak on behalf of the president. Rachel.
Thanks, Caroline. Welcome back.
Yeah, I'm okay. I do all right for myself, so I'm able to pay my bills and keep a roof over my head. So it's no big deal. But what trips me out is these politicians, man. Some of these politicians, they be getting paid like millions and millions of dollars, and it's like they don't even do much. It's like, yo, if I was getting paid what these politicians are getting paid, like they could easily like put all that effort and like, you know, do their jobs.
Clarification really quick on the staffer who is accused of profiting off of the president's speeches. You said he'll no longer be working here. Is he on administrative leave or is he going to be fired afterwards?
He's on unpaid administrative leave right now.
Okay. And just to follow up on the president's speech tonight, I mean, we've been talking to a lot of Republicans over on Capitol Hill. They have said that focusing on the economy is the right way to go ahead of the midterm elections. They believe.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that. Hey, that's cool. We got 10,000 subscribers. That's what's up. Hey, thanks for everyone that subscribed and thanks for everyone that hangs out. We're gonna go on some more Carlo the Siberian Husky adventures, and because that's what the channel's really all about, to have some fun with Carlo the Husky and go on adventures with him around Los Angeles. But what Trump's doing to this country, it's hard to ignore. So I like to watch this stuff and hang out with YouTubeville and connect with non-Kool-Aid drinkers and reform the Kool-Aid drinkers out there, so everyone's welcome to hang out.
Voters care most about. What does the president say to Republicans who think that focusing on the 2020 election integrity, all of these issues right now is not the right approach so close to the election?
Again, you guys have not heard the speech yet, so I would digress with the criticism until you actually hear what the president is going to say.
Well, yeah, that's pretty cool. 10,000 subscribers. Because because I had this channel like since like 2008, but I always just used it for like watching movies and videos, you know, like music videos, like my YouTube channel. Like I didn't start uploading videos until like December, or pretty much like the beginning of 20. Hey.
Are you the administration for this right here?
Oh no.
This is your lot right here.
1 second. All right, where was I? I forget what I was even talking about.
Going to say when he addresses the American public. I would also add again that the administration and especially this president are able to walk and chew gum at the same time and tackle a number of issues on a number of different subjects every single day. We see that president do that working around the clock on foreign policy, on domestic policy, all of the time. You all report on it. You have to keep up with it. So I think you can agree with me on that point. And I would also add the president will continue to be traveling all around the country to talk about the economy.
Oh yeah. So I got my channel, and then I didn't start uploading videos until like of Carlo in like 2025. And then, you know, with the whole Trump thing going on and hanging out in like comment sections, I kept seeing all these maggots out there just talking all their shit. So I was like, you know what? We're gonna create our own town hall.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took like about a little over a year to get to 10,000 subscribers. That's pretty cool. I never really look at the subscribers. I never really look at any of the analytics. I just go live and that's it.
Weeks ago, Mack truck facility, which has been greatly strengthened and enriched because of this president's economic policies over the last year and a half, and he loves doing that, and he will continue to do so.
Yeah, I just like to go live and interact with all the YouTubeville members, so appreciate anyone that's here hanging out. Got Carlo the Husky right here kicking it. What's up, Carlo? What's up, buddy? Kicking it? It's finally cooling down, huh? Good boy. Look into my eyes. What's up, buddy? Good boy. Ready to go on a walk soon? Yeah, good boy. He's 5 years old now. He's a rescue. Been kicking backs for like 5 years now. Yeah, I think Carlo, we found each other when he was 3 months old.
We have seen with the increased community strikes a real decrease in commercial traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. What is the U.S. doing right now to facilitate flows through the Strait of Hormuz and preemptively address the risk that Houthis will actually choke off the Red Sea oil route and that prices will increase further before November?
Sure. Well, two separate questions. First, let me address what's happening in the Strait right now. We know that there is a blockade of ships directed by the president for ships entering and departing Iranian ports only. This has been fully implemented and is in full force. This blockade was reimposed due to Iran's inability to honor their agreement with the United States of America. More than 10,000 U.S. sailors, Marines, and airmen, along with 2 aircraft carriers and more than 20 warships and dozens of aircraft are executing the blockade mission as we speak. And during the first 24 hours of the blockade, U.S. CENTCOM has redirected 2 compliant commercial vessels and disabled 1 non-compliant vessel. So look, the Strait is open for ships that are not traveling to and from Iranian ports specifically, and the U.S. Navy is there to ensure that can take place. With respect to gas prices, as you know, the price of oil right now is approximately $80 a barrel, maybe a little less. Before I came out here, that's what it was at. Gas prices are down approximately 60 cents a gallon off the peak of this conflict. And the president was honest with the American people from the beginning. There may be temporary disruptions in the oil market, but what we haven't seen is what all of the naysayers said, that there would be massive increases in the price of oil that so many warned about. And that's in large part because of the president's domestic energy policies here at home to revamp our domestic production here, but also the administration has taken many swift actions to mitigate these temporary disruptions. As you know, we've released oil through our SPR, the Jones Act waiver, which has been incredibly effective, fuel environmental waivers. We also President signed the Defense Production Act to restart California oil production. So all of these very swift and mighty actions on behalf of this administration have led to a rather stable oil market, and the president will continue to do all he can to ensure prices come down, stay stable for the American people and the American consumer until the end of this conflict. And ultimately, I think Americans should keep in mind why we're doing this in the first place, to ensure that Iran, a terror state, can never obtain a nuclear weapon. Dasha, go ahead.
Nice to see you back.
You too.
Two questions, one on tonight and one on immigration. It strikes me listening to the conversation in this room about Iran, given the questions that folks on both sides of the aisle have about strategy and endgame, given that the United States has intensified strikes on Iran, typically in a time of conflict, when the president gives an address to the nation, we would expect him to address this conflict. Number one, will he talk about Iran, and why is that not the major topic of his speech? Does he believe that the SAFE Act and the 2020 election integrity are more important right now?
Well, no, it's not a matter of importance. It's just a matter of timing. The president will be making a very important announcement with respect to the integrity of our elections. However, it is also very possible at the top of the speech he will mention the current situation with Iran and also the economy as well. As you all know, President Trump is a man of his own word, and he sometimes is thinking about these things up until he walks out. But we have had conversations about him addressing a range of topics, and that could very well be possible tonight. Again, this is all more reason for all of you to carry the speech live and for the American people to tune in tonight so they can hear directly from the the president and draw their own conclusions.
Go ahead. Caroline, sorry,
Karen,
to add the immigration question real quick.
Sure, go ahead.
Sorry. 3 men were killed in ICE encounters in less than a week. As a result, DHS announced that it would end vehicle stops, and then President Trump urged them to change their position. Can you confirm whether vehicle stops are back on, and is the administration doing anything more to prevent these kinds of deaths, maybe accelerating distribution of body cameras, which weren't present in this case?
So a couple of things. Vehicle stops are continuing. Verbal guidance has been given to all field offices across the country by the Department of Homeland Security. The President and the Secretary of Homeland Security are on the same page that vehicle stops are a necessary tool that ICE agents need in order to continue their deportation campaign of the worst illegal alien criminals from our country. With respect to body cameras, I know there's been some questions about that in recent days. Over half of all ICE field offices now do have body cameras, and the remainder of the field offices are expected within 60 days. It's been a slower rollout than we would have hoped, but that's because of the Democrats' decision to shut down DHS for several weeks. So we expect to fully execute on the promise of body cams to all field offices across the country very soon. Karen.
On the parasite outbreak related to produce, can you give an update on the administration's response to this? Are there federal officials on the ground in the hardest hit states right now?
Yeah, Donald Trump's over there giving everyone explosive diarrhea now for all that fecal matter that comes out of his mouth.
Any testing of production facilities or farms to try to figure out where this outbreak has started?
Well, what I can tell you, having been back at the White House for just a couple of short weeks, I've been in meetings on this very topic, and I can tell you the White House is closely monitoring the situation, has a handle on the situation. We're committed to providing the CDC and the FDA the resources that they need, and we urge all Americans to follow CDC guidance on properly washing and cooking raw ingredients to prevent this foodborne illness. As you know, there has been an unusually high number of cases. There are typically thousands of cases of this outbreak every year, but there has been an unusually higher number, and that's why we're working with the FDA and other partners at the federal, state, and local level to increase detection methods, provide the guidance, and then also, most importantly, trace the outbreak back to its original source, which we are currently in the process of doing.
Permanent leadership at the CDC and FDA and any funding cuts, has that slowed the response to figure out where this outbreak has started?
No, we've talked to the CDC and FDA specifically about that, and not at all. They have the resources they need to make sure that Americans are fully informed and protected from this illness during this time.
Caroline, welcome back.
Thanks.
Last year, the administration signed a critical minerals mining deal with Kazakhstan for a little-known U.S. company. It was an agreement that President Trump and Howard Lutnick got tentative approval for with Kazakhstan's president in September. 6 days before the deal was signed, which was in November, the president's older sons and other partners took a 20% investment in a company related to the deal. What did the president know about his son's involvement in this arrangement when did he find out about it?
From my understanding, Maggie, nothing. Spoken to the president and his family about this. They would absolutely never do anything that would put the president in a place of a conflict of interest. And we have timelines to give you and to provide you, which we did to the news media at the time when this story broke, to prove that very point that I just made.
Just 1 second. So the president did not learn about it until it was in the media? That was when he
That's my understanding of the matter, yes.
Caroline.
I'll go to you after.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Me? Okay.
Why don't we just-
Okay, thank you very much.
Starting in the
Very,
back?
very welcome back.
Okay. Thank you.
Yesterday, Iran launched a drone attack against U.S. facilities in Erbil, threatening American personnel and the Kurdistan region, one of the American closest partners in the Middle East. What is your message to those responsible? And are you siding with your loyal ally in the Middle East and at least helping them to defend itself?
Who launched the attack, you're saying?
Iran,
Yes.
Kurdistan region.
Well, I think I've addressed that previously in saying that Iran has unfortunately shown to violate the word that they struck with the President of the United States. They're paying consequences for that and the strikes that the President has authorized in the recent days.
Thank you, Caroline. You were with the President in Ankara for the NATO summit, and there Ukraine was one of
I was not actually.
Oh, you were not. Okay, yeah, but the issue of Ukraine was one of the most important topics there, and the situation is escalating between the two sides in these days, but there are still efforts. Can you give us more information about where we are and how the local powers, power breakers, including Turkey, are involving in order to solve the problem?
Sure.
Hey, check it out. Carlo the Husky's in the chat. What's up, Carlo? Carlo the Husky's just said yo. What's up? You said yo in the chat. All right, that's Carlo's YouTube channel right there. I'm gonna make him a moderator.
With the National Security Council and get back to you on that with more specific guidance. What I can tell you is I know the president greatly enjoyed his visit to Turkey and not just his participation in the NATO summit, where he applauded the United States for getting our NATO allies to step up and pay their fair share for our defense. But also he greatly enjoyed his time with President Erdogan in Turkey and appreciates the bilateral relationship between our two countries.
Caroline, welcome back.
Thanks.
Contrary to what the mainstream media is reporting, Americans that I speak to care deeply about election integrity.
This is true.
Why do you think the mainstream media is so fearful of tonight's speech and anything to do with election interference? And why are they attempting to discredit President Trump's speech before they even heard it? And lastly, what's your message to AMC, who is asking for President Trump, the mainstream media, to actually censor the sitting president's speech tonight?
Yeah, I think that the mainstream media should air the president's speech and allow the American people to draw their own conclusions from it. Again, I think it's important that the American public hears directly from the President of the United States on a topic that, to your point, is very near and dear to the hearts of many Americans across the country, the integrity of our elections. This should be a nonpartisan, non-controversial issue, and I think you'll hear the President talk about that tonight. So we'll see you then. Thank you.
He was telling the president.
All right, so that concludes Caroline Leavitt's press conference. All right, let's move on. All right, the good news is now that I'm demonetized on YouTube is I can start sharing like Donald Trump memes and stuff like that. So we're about to start having a good old time. All right, let's go check out. Let's go see what else we got in the queue. All right, here we go. All right, we just checked out Caroline Leavitt. Let's go see. Let's go keep Chud watching. Let's go see what these losers have to say. Let's go see what Narco Bubio has to say.
The protection of its country. This is a sacred obligation.
All right, so this is Narco Bubio from earlier today. That's some conference, some bizarre conference about like political terrorism.
Thank you all.
It's
Thank
weird.
you all for joining us.
So weird,
I'm
these
very
people.
honored that this distinguished group of people have traveled.
So bizarre. Narco Bubio is doing a press conference while everyone's over there starving on political terrorism from the left. What a moron.
The world to be a part of this important conversation. We're grateful to you. I also want to thank members of the President's team and cabinet that are here today. Our FBI Director, Kash Patel, is here with us. Thank you. Our Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, has joined us as well. You'll hear shortly from Stephen Miller, the President's Deputy Chief of Staff and one of his top advisors on Homeland Security issues as well. And of course, our Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, is here. But again, I want to thank all of you that are here today. I want to thank the whole team here at the State Department as well for putting this together. It truly is an unprecedented event on an unprecedented issue, moment, I should say, in our history. So let me start by saying that the most essential duty of the state, the first responsibility, frankly, of any government of any kind, is the protection of its people. It's the protection of its country. This is a sacred obligation that should transcend all political and all ideological divisions. It is why, for example, we have militaries. It's why we have intelligence agencies. It's why counterterrorism bureaus exist, why police forces exist. Keeping our people safe is the reason why every country represented here has all of these things.
Look at him. He's doing the accordion hands like Trump.
We are all very well acquainted, as of now, of course, by now, with what has been described as traditional terrorist threats. For 25 years, the term counterterrorism, at least in the West, has meant first and foremost the fight against radical Islamist extremism. And there's a very poignant reason for that. On the 11th of September, in the year 2001.
Oh, the other good news is on these streams, we don't get any ads, guys. So we got an ad-free experience. And we got free speech. We can say whatever the F we want.
19 men murdered 3,000 people here in my country. Then that same enemy struck Europe, murdering nearly 200 commuters aboard trains in Madrid in 2004 and 52 more aboard London buses and the underground in the following year. The entire architecture of Western counterterrorism was rebuilt from the studs around the singular traumatic event. That made sense at the time. Our job was to keep our people safe, and the realm of terrorism, the specter of global jihad, was the premier threat to their safety. And so we went to work, and we assembled a global coalition, working with many of the friends that are represented here in this room today. And we destroyed the ISIS caliphate, we killed al-Baghdadi and al-Zawahiri and bin Laden, and we built intelligence and law enforcement systems capable of anticipating and stopping.
This is crazy, the timing of this speech that Marco Rubio is giving right now, on the same day that Donald Trump's giving his speech later about him crying about the 2020 elections. Yeah, these guys are scheming and plotting, man, to like take over the country. This guy's going to be worse than Hitler, or he wants to be worse than Hitler. Not this guy, but the whole Trump regime, or this guy too. He's a phony. Narco Bubio's a phony.
Even hears about them. Every country represented here today has disrupted a terrorist threat at some point emanating from this source. Jihadist attacks and plots in the United States are down by 2/3 since ISIS's peak. The number of people killed by jihadist terrorism in Europe dropped by roughly 97% from the year 2015 to the year 2024. In other words, to a very great extent, our counterterrorism strategy has worked. The threat has not disappeared, of course. It will.
Well, the thing about a lot of these channels that do like their reactions and whatnot is they're talking over it consistently. Like me, I'm more of like the YouTubeville interaction. Like I'm just like everyone else in the chat, you know. We're just all concerned citizens, you know, just trying to get by. So I really, I'm more in for it for like hanging out with YouTubeville, like the chat, you know, and watching, and hanging out and watching, these politicians. So that way, we can watch them in their entirety, not watch clips of it. And we could just all have a good time, get to know each other, share our opinions, and just watch the entire thing. That way we can all, grow our critical thinking skills, come to our own conclusions, share our analysis, all that good stuff, So I like to just watch the stuff, hang out with YouTubeville, and every once in a while throw in my 2 cents. But I also like to hear what everyone else has to say, But a lot of these channels, they just talk and talk and talk. So I don't care about that crap. Or like clips. They'll just show like clips.
to exist, particularly so long as we tolerate immigration systems that imports these threats directly into our respective homelands. But this threat has been severely diminished. The world looks very different today because of it. For far too long, however, our counterterrorism doctrine has had a blind spot when it comes to extremist violence from the political left. Even today, the very idea that far left terrorism could be a serious threat is treated as a right-wing fever dream, or worse, as a dangerous fascist conspiracy. It's treated this way by many in the press, by many in academia and our universities, and by many of our legacy institutions. You will no doubt see the dogma reared.
Oh yeah, this dude's got some Dumbo ears for sure. Oh damn, his ears are like 6 inches long. It's insane. Like I could put one of my ears, like his ear is twice the size of my ear, like a regular ear.
Coverage of this very conference. In spite of the clear.
He probably donated some of his ears are so big, he probably donated some of his ear to Trump.
Undeniable reality, in spite of the objective numbers and statistics, in spite of the fact that in this room today, there are representatives from across the political spectrum. We will hear this kind of organized violence and terror will be dismissed. It will be dismissed as a partisan fiction. A whole industry grew up in our countries around the study of extremism. We have think tanks, fellowships, journals, and consultancies with the unspoken understanding among them that the only kind of political violence that was a true threat to our system, that only one kind of political violence was a true threat to the system. A bomb planted by a neo-Nazi group was a nefarious and murderous act of evil. It is. But a bomb planted by a Marxist revolutionary, well, that's just merely a tragic excess of idealism. Perhaps its means were misplaced or overzealous, but its ends were virtuous and just. That's the implication of how they treated it. For years, this extraordinary ideological prejudice was embedded in the way we talked about political violence and extremism. It was repeated again and again until it was accepted as the neutral and objective baseline, so entrenched in the mainstream conventional wisdom that it came to be regarded as an apolitical fact.
Hey, what up, Aloha Kitty? What up, everyone? What's up, Eric Klein? What's up, Aloha Kitty? What's up, NJ? J-Fo, Randy, Richard, what up? How you guys all doing today? Thanks for tuning in. So we're just pre-gaming right now because Donald Trump's going to give his speech later on where he's crying about the 2020 election still because he's a big baby. So in the meantime, we'll just watch these clips from some current events that happened today. After this, we'll check out Stephen Miller. We'll check out John Ossoff and Al Green after this. By the time we're done watching all that, I think Donald Trump should be pulling up to the podium and we'll go see what that loser has to say.
Is the reason why here in my country, so many people in positions of power have repeatedly dismissed acts of violence and even terrorism as legitimate forms of political expression, so long as they served a left-wing cause. It is why during those so-called George Floyd riots in the summer of 2020, as criminals and extremists burned and looted their way through America's great cities and nearly brought the country to its knees, city governments all across the country simply refused to prosecute the people conducting these acts of violence and terror. It is the reason for the now infamous image, maybe you all recall this, of a news anchor from a very prominent agency, a news anchor standing in a neighborhood consumed in flames. Meanwhile, the chyron on the bottom read that the protests were mostly peaceful. This was something worse than a double standard. Left-wing violence was not just excused.
Yeah, this guy's a moron right here. You guys just pardoned all those January 6ers, the insurrectionists. Screw you, Narco Bubio.
Sacrosanct. A protected class unto itself. That era has to end. The coalition in this room today includes political leaders and experts and law enforcement officials from more than 60 countries across the world. You have come here from a wide range of governments, parties, and political persuasions. Some of your governments and ours disagree publicly. Sometimes we disagree sharply about trade, about energy, about immigration. You did not come here today because you have been persuaded on every single aspect of the American view of the world. You came here. You are here because 2 weeks ago, a 72-year-old woman was burned on over 80% of her body in her own home in Greece, and she died, executed by a firebomb because her daughter dared to stand for office. You are here today because for 5 days this winter, the lights went out in Berlin, the longest blackout in the city since the Second World War, sparked by an attack that left tens of thousands of households without power in the freezing cold and left an 83-year-old woman dead. You are here and you came because a month after that Berlin blackout, a French 23-year-old succumbed to traumatic brain injuries, beaten to death on the streets of Lyon by a group of far-left militant thugs. You are here because your political leaders are being attacked and stabbed and shot in your streets, because your businesses have been bombed, because your railways have been sabotaged, because your police officers have been beaten and burned. You are here because this is real, and it is getting worse, and it can no longer be denied, and it can no longer be ignored, because it is time to crush this evil forever. The simple fact is, none of this that I've just described is new. Far left political.
Dude, this guy sounds insane right here. He's basically saying, like, anyone that goes against us, we're going to crush that evil forever. These guys are just saying it out loud.
Is not a recent day modern novelty. It is not a fiction manufactured by conservative politicians. For most of the modern era, it was in fact the dominant form of political violence. Every one of our friends here from the nations of the Western Hemisphere remember the decades of kidnappings and bombings and assassinations and executions, the violent terror of the Tupamaros, of the Monteseros, of the FARC, of the ELN. You remember the inhuman savagery of Peru's Shining Path, the Maoist fanatics who massacred the peasant villages of Peru, hacking pregnant women and newborn infants to death with axes and machetes. You remember the tens of thousands of Marxist guerrillas trained to kill in Castro's terrorist camps. All of you here from Europe remember. You remember the machine gun massacres of Italy's Red Brigades, which held a 5-time prime minister captive for 55 days before subjecting him to a revolutionary so-called people's trial and executing him in 1978. You remember the Red Army faction's nearly 3-decade campaign of bombings, kidnappings, and assassinations in Germany, murdering dozens and injuring hundreds more. You remember the 17 November organization in Greece, the Marxist extremists that terrorized Athens for more than a quarter century, including, by the way, shooting my country's CIA station chief dead outside of his home, in front of his wife, as they were returning home from a Christmas party. And here in America, we remember. We remember the same reign of deadly terror, justified by the same slogans, motivated by the same wicked ideas. We remember the Weather Underground, which bombed the Pentagon, which bombed the State Department, and bombed the Capitol. We remember the Black Liberation Army, which staged armed robberies and executed police officers at point-blank range. We remember the Symbionese.
You gotta be kidding me. This guy's bringing back 70s radical groups. These people are insane.
Army, which shot a public school superintendent to death with cyanide-packed hollow point bullets. In one 18-month period between 1971 and 1972, the FBI counted some 2,000.
Yeah, that was like more than 50 years ago, pal.
Bombings on American soil, a rate of nearly 5 a day. The overwhelming share of that violence came from left-wing extremists. Between 1970 and 1980, 93% of terrorist attacks in the West.
This guy's a freaking moron. Why doesn't he bring up the Oklahoma City bombing and the Unabomber?
From the far extremist left. These are numbers that would shock most Americans today because we've been taught to believe that this kind of political violence, it simply doesn't exist or it's being exaggerated.
Man, I can't believe that the things this guy is saying are so off the wall and ridiculous. And what's even worse is that there's MAGA cult members that eat this shit up. It's sad.
But it does exist. And we're actually underestimating it. And our nations bear the scars to prove it. And today we face a new wave of this old evil. Here in the United States, the share of left-wing terrorist attacks and plots has risen to levels not seen in decades. In Germany, far-left violence has jumped by more than 40% in just the last year alone. In Greece, more than 80%.
Dude, the KKK's been around for 150 years and you guys still haven't labeled them a terrorist organization.
Violence is now driven by far-left and anarchist actors. These are not abstract statistics. Americans have seen what those numbers mean. An all-out assault on our immigration officers, sniper.
Well, you got some abstract ears, buddy. Your ears are abstract, fool.
Explosives, armed ambushes, a transgender shooter opening fire on Catholic elementary school students as they pray, his gun marked with slogans like, "Where is your God now?" A healthcare executive executed in cold blood in the streets. Multiple assassination attempts on a sitting president. And the murder of the greatest conservative activist of a generation. A man who happened to also be a husband and the father of 2 young children, shot and killed while speaking to a crowd of students. This is a distinctive and unique evil. It has always been driven by a hatred, above all else, a hatred for civilization itself. It is a revolt of the worst against the best, a revolt of the weak and the cowardly against the strong and the good. It is perpetrated by those who cannot build, who cannot create, who cannot achieve great things, and take their revenge upon the world for their own inadequacy.
Oh my goodness. As soon as he started saying this shit, I already know who wrote this speech. Straight up, Stephen Miller wrote this crap. Oh, man, straight up. Dude, that's like the Nazi playbook right there. They're like straight up quoting Goebbels and that other fool, Himmler, and all those other dudes.
By seeking to destroy those who can. This is what radical leftism is. It may wear various different slogans and ideologies across place and time. They can call themselves anti-capitalists or anti-imperialists or communists or anarchists or Marxists, but the fundamental character is always the same. It's always the same. It is a poisonous resentment cloaked in the language of equality and justice, liberation, an overwhelming need to tear down what greater men have built, to wreck what is beautiful and what is right on behalf of people who are only filled with ugliness and have nothing else to offer the world. Through violence and through terror, they once again seek to impose their ugliness on all of us. The old dogma was wrong. The old dogma was wrong. None of this is driven by idealism. It is not utopian. In fact, it is the opposite. One of the criticisms you sometimes hear of communism, for example, is that it sounds good in theory, but it never works in practice. That's actually not true. Communism does not sound good in theory. The world it envisions for all of us is small, flat, gray, leveled of all exception, drained of all that is good and noble in the human soul. The world it envisions is a world without courage, a world without creativity or ambition, a world without heroes or glory or great causes to strive towards, a world without miracles, without myths, without men who rise above the rest to do incredible and extraordinary things. And the world communism envisions is a world without God. For these architects of revolutionary violence, the towering achievement of our civilization, for them, it's an unbearable humiliation, a reminder of what they cannot do.
Yeah, this is definitely a Stephen Miller speech, because Stephen Miller does a speech at the same conference that they're at. So this has like 5 minutes left, so we'll write it to the end, and then we'll see what Stephen Pimplehead Miller has to say.
What they cannot be, so they choose instead to destroy. They attack pipelines. They attack railroads. They attack power grids and laboratories, the physical embodied symbols of power and invention and achievement. This is the nature of the terrorism we face today. They despise the West because the West is great. This is an international conference because we are facing a transnational threat. These are not distinct and isolated cells. They are interconnected networks. They do not recognize our borders. They do not believe, in fact, in the nation state itself. They coordinate, they communicate, they travel, they train, and they act together, sharing the same infrastructure, sharing the same enemies, sharing the same mission. Antifa militants and their comrades travel from across Europe and to the Americas to participate.
Antifa militants and their comrades. You gotta be kidding me with this shit.
There's attacks. Again.
So I guess all the MAGA cult members are all pro-Tifa.
Training materials and target information through shared encrypted channels, moving through underground networks of safe houses and finance and sustain their operations.
Antifa safe houses. These fucking people, man.
It's national funds. And they work alongside hostile foreign states that share their mission, like Iranian proxy networks, who are increasingly intimately tied to leftist militant groups around the world. The Cuban regime's sprawling intelligence and ideological network helped to build the far left in our country and in our hemisphere. And it remains inextricably linked to the far left groups and movements across and beyond the West. Today's far left terrorists can raise money in one country. They can host their communications in a second country. They can receive training in a third country. They can recruit militants in a fourth country. And then together strike a target in a fifth country. And so we have no choice but to confront this menace together. We will either cooperate across our borders, or the terrorists will continue to exploit the gaps between them. Under President Trump, for the first time, the United States is building the infrastructure, the partnership, and the strategy to defeat the scourge of far-left terror. The President signed National Security Presidential Memorandum Number 7, outlining a comprehensive strategy to investigate and disrupt Antifa terror networks and their allies. Last November, the State Department designated 4 violent, far-left extremist groups as foreign terrorist organizations. And there will be more designations soon. In December, we announced rewards for justice offering up to $10.
Bro, they're just literally like trying to just go after anybody that just calls Trump a piece of shit. That's how much of big babies they are.
Information disrupting the behind these groups. In May, we convened the first counterterrorism law enforcement workshop, joining American law enforcement officials and their counterparts in our partner country nations together to map and develop strategies for dismantling these networks. The next workshop will be co-hosted with our partners in Germany. The coalition we're building together is already bearing fruit. And we are here today to build on that work. We can and we must identify and map this threat and rebuild our counterterrorism architecture to defeat it, just as we have done together before. Now we must do it together again. Through intelligence and information sharing, through coordinated law enforcement strategy, through financial targeting and disruption, we will dismantle these networks brick by brick. It is time for the people of the civilized world to defend ourselves, to stand united against this encroaching darkness and fight for what is ours. It is easy to destroy great things. It is far more difficult to make them. The enemies of civilization are only capable of the former. They are only capable of destroying great things. All they know is destruction. But we have built great things together. We have done it time and again. We know what we must do. And now we must do it. Thank you for coming today.
Oh my God. Straight out of Hitler's playbook over here. All right, let's go see what Stephen Pimpleface Miller has to say at that same press conference.
Your faces, and thank you, of course, to Secretary of State Rubio for organizing this.
This guy's an evil man right here. Screw this guy.
Conference and for leading this initiative. Here in the United States, we have taken the necessary and essential action of formally recognizing left-wing violence as a form of political terrorism that is a direct threat to our national security and the survival of our Republican form of government. President Trump issued a directive in our parlance. It's called a National Security Presidential Memorandum, or NSPM, NSPM 7 to be exact, that directs for the first time in American history all of our law enforcement and intelligence agencies to work together to disrupt, identify, defund, debank, arrest, and prosecute these political terrorists that are operating in our country. It's very important to understand that left-wing political terrorism seeks as its ultimate end the overthrow of our system and form of government. And we've seen this has taken place many times in many places throughout the years, and Secretary Rubio has provided you many examples. Left-wing terrorism always ends in bloodshed, misery, and suffering. It only can travel in one direction. There's no point at which the left-wing terrorist is satisfied with his gains and ceases progressing. Inevitably, left to run its course, it always becomes a gulag. It always becomes the mass imprisonment of political enemies, the stripping of their rights and freedoms, inflicting immense pain, humiliation, suffering, in order to establish complete and total control. Control through psychological and physical and actual terror. And we have to understand that that is the scope and the extent of the threat that we face. As Secretary Rubio also pointed out, this is an international network. Antifa, as an example, operates in dozens of countries all throughout the world. They share common networks of funding, organization, and information sharing. And so all of our intelligence agencies and law enforcement entities should be collaborating and coordinating and working together in order to root out these organizations. One of the hallmarks of left-wing violence and terrorism is its completely pretextual and disingenuous appeal to civil liberties in an effort to shield its own violence. This is the tactic that the left always uses to try to protect itself from facing criminal punishment. It is essential that we are wise enough and strong enough to understand that these appeals must fall on deaf ears. When the leftist, who does not believe in freedom, who does not believe in civil rights, who does not believe in any ordered notion of justice, protests that we are violating his rights, understand that he is lying to try to persuade people who are not closely following the political scene that some injustice has been perpetrated against him. We must stay the course and be completely unflinching in the pursuit of justice against these enemies of civilization. If the left is allowed to use the real or actual threat of violence to destabilize our institutions, then those institutions cannot and will not succeed. So here in the United States, for example, we saw in the recent past clear threats of violence against our Supreme Court to try to shape how they rule on upcoming decisions. The leftist does this with the full desire, intent, and understanding that the threat of violence against a public figure or their family is meant to cow them into behaving or acting or conducting themselves differently. Jury trials don't work. At the same time, we have to understand there's a real threat that those who are not themselves terrorists, but who support left-wing violence, will create the conditions that allow that violence to go on without any meaningful inhibition. So to be specific, we've seen in some of our nation's cities in America, like Washington, D.C. and New York City, something, again, it's an American term, but it's known as jury nullification. This is when a person is obviously guilty of a crime, but the juror, because they're ideologically sympathetic to the perpetrator, will not sentence them to the crime which is obviously committed. We've seen in the United States, again and again, individuals who are part of left-wing organizations who committed assaults against ICE officers or federal law enforcement who've been brought to court where clear evidence has been presented against them, that the jury has refused to convict for purely political reasons. When you've reached that point, it demonstrates how deeply the cancer has begun to infest your society, where people have created an internal rationalization structure to justify unsanctioned violence against the state and state actors to achieve a political end. We have to use every lawful and legitimate tool that we have to demonstrate that justice will be served and delivered, and to prove that these kinds of tactics and techniques will ultimately fail. If the leftist learns and observes that their violence and criminal activity helps and ultimately succeeds in achieving their desired political end, they will be endlessly emboldened. Here in the United States, we've seen a growing and deeply alarming increase in attempted assassinations against public figures. Most notably, of course, the multiple assassination attempts against President Trump, the successful assassination attempt against Charlie Kirk, many others. This is a fatal cancer to civilization. And the greatest risk that we have is that our institutions have grown too soft and too cowardly to be able to defend themselves against a mortal threat. If your civilization is your home, you must defend it with the same passion and force as if an enemy intruder is inside your own house where your family lives. That is the level of dedication and urgency that is required. And the greatest threat is that even though there are far more of us, there are far more people who believe in order and civilization and liberty and the rule of law, is that if we are softer than those who seek to end us, then the smaller but more radical minority will succeed. It is easy to dismiss what I'm saying, to say, surely it cannot be that bad, it cannot be that dire. But again, I point to the examples in our own country where, for example, our Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which has been duly statutory authorized to carry out routine enforcement of immigration law, has been subjected to an over 8,000% increase in violent assaults. These are not one-off episodes. This is repeat, systemic, organized, funded insurrection and armed resistance against the federal government. There was a sniper from a sniper's nest who, using an assault rifle, tried to shoot ICE officers in Dallas, Texas. These are the episodes that we're talking about, where we have had repeated, direct, violent attacks on federal law enforcement.
Man, this guy's so full of shit. Hey, look at his tiny ass hands. This fool's like 4'2". His hands all small.
In order to veto the ballot box with violence. And the leftist justifies this violence to himself by saying that they alone are the arbiters of what is right or wrong. Not the law, not history, not civilization, not public opinion, and certainly not God. The leftist assumes for himself judge, jury, executioner. But let's not pretend for a moment that these radical leftists, these terrorists, are operating from a place of sincere political conviction. Sure, there are plenty of useful idiots that they use who may believe these discredited ideologies. The leftist is fundamentally motivated by envy, by hatred, by jealousy. The leftist looks at what is beautiful and what is good and what is natural and is filled with envy and hatred.
Jeez, these guys are desperate. They know the blue wave tsunami's coming and they can't win the midterms. So they're setting the groundwork for all their crazy. They're gonna do some crazy shit probably, or at least they're trying to do it.
The leftist looks at a perfect family with the perfect life and a perfect job and perfect kids. It goes to church every Sunday and is filled with a feeling of inadequacy and jealousy, and they covet, and they turn those emotions ultimately into a desire to subjugate, to oppress, and to inflict pain and suffering. It's not a coincidence that when you look at these violent Antifa demonstrations, you see any photograph of those who are assembled. To be blunt, not one of the people that is demonstrating looks like a normal person. Not one looks normal. They're all deformed in some way, in their appearance, in their dress.
You gotta be kidding me. Hey, fuck you, Stephen Miller. You fucking pencil face, you pimple face goon.
In their mannerism. Why is that? Why? You look at two photographs and you see a normal American street, you see an Antifa protest. Why did the people that are violently demonstrating, why is there not one normal looking person among them? Every one of them, through the course of their life and their decisions, has scarred their body and their appearance in many different ways, to the point in which their outer appearance becomes a manifestation of their inner hatred. Trust your instincts to all people and across all civilizations. You know what normal is. You know what beautiful is.
Jesus. These speeches that Stephen Miller and Narco Bubio did today are really gross and disgusting, anti-American. And then there's Scott Bessent. That fool Scott Bessent did another a speech at this same convention, so we'll see what that clown has to say. I'm so tired of these fools.
Good is, you know that families are right. You know that children are precious and beautiful and must be protected. You know that the criminal and the junkie and the...
And midterms couldn't come soon enough. Blue wave tsunami.
...is a threat to normal, healthy living. This is so much deeper than issues about taxation and regulation, although they're incredibly important. It's about normal, healthy, ordered living. And the violent leftists, for these deep-seated reasons, going back to the earliest wisdom taught to us in the Bible about coveting. And I'm not talking about rich versus poor. I'm talking about a much deeper kind of coveting. Coveting people who are morally superior, who are superior in the simple, truthful way they live their lives. People that they look at who are happy and ordered and peaceful and contributing to the communities. That burns an ember in them, and that's how you end up with the horrors we've seen throughout history, where good families are dragged out into the street and executed. And you might say, again, you're describing a future that seems impossible to conceive of. When it comes to preventing these horrors, it is the burden and the duty of good...
Man, this guy's nothing but a racist piece of shit. Just trying to fearmonger all these people, all the MAGA brainwashed cult members.
Of all walks of life to understand that you will always be accused of raising the alarm too loudly. If you wait until the point where the worst outcome is so obvious that no one can deny it, you've already lost the battle. That's the fundamental point. If you say, I will not raise this alarm until the threat is so present and so clear and so obvious and so imminent that none can deny it, it's already too late. It's already too late. I would rather prevent a threat from occurring and be accused for the rest of my life of having falsely raised the alarm, knowing in myself that I was right, than for fear of being judged, having waited too long until the point of no return has been crossed. The good news is that we are far away from the point of no return. So all of us should organize together and work together for the good and the benefit of all the people in our societies, of all walks of life, of all persuasions, to deliver for them what they are justly entitled to, which is to live with safety, with fundamental human dignity, and with the ability to live in peace and harmony with their families and neighbors. Thank you all, and God bless.
Oh my God. Man, that was tough to listen to. I didn't want to listen to it, but this is something we actually have to listen to see what these evil people are up to. But yeah, it's official. These guys are just evil mofos. Let's go see what this clown Scott Bassett has to say. Hey, what up, everyone? We're just pre-gaming before. Oh man, the Chud Watch just continues, and then we got Donald Trump. His speech he's gonna do. I think that's coming up in like 15 minutes. So we'll check out this Scott Bassett, and then I think by the time this is done, we'll go see what the Orange Turd has to say at his speech that he's gonna do tonight, crying about the 2020 elections that Joe Biden won in a landslide. But what up, Dan Fries? Hey, good to see you. What up, everyone? Good to see you guys. Little pregame. Hey, you guys. And Donald Trump's speech, for every time he says Biden, you got to take a shot. But yeah, I'm gonna roll one up. Twist to exist. Pregame for this Donald Trump bizarre speech he's about to do. It's gonna be nothing but lies. All right, here's Scott Bassett. Hey, please hit the like button. Thank you. And feel free to hit the Cash App or the Venmo I got in my links in my bio if anyone wants to support the channel.
Dangerous, but I'm going to remind everyone in this room and all the media that I was the subject of an assassination attempt February 2024 by an addled left-wing activist 2 hours after being sworn into my job. So any of you who, good morning. And before I proceed, I'm going to go off script for a minute, which is always dangerous, but I'm going to remind everyone in this room and all the media that I was the subject of an assassination attempt February 2024 by an addled...
Nobody tried to assassinate you, fool.
...activist 2 hours after being sworn into my job. So any of you who want to report that this is a fiction and does not exist, be there for the sentencing this August. So good morning. Thank you, Secretary Rubio, for convening this ministerial and for the invitation to be here. We are here together because the resurgence of political terrorism, transnational design, and far-left doctrine is no longer the concern of any one nation. It demands a response that draws upon the distinct and combined strengths of every government represented here today. Every government. Ours begins where every campaign of terror does. Its financial lifeblood. And at President Trump's direction.
Hey, what up, Amber Leslie? Oh yeah, for sure. I noticed that his you can hear his lack of confidence, Amber Leslie says. Yep. I noticed that the chair of the Federal Reserve, what's his name? Mark Walsh or something? That guy sounds just like Bassett.
And States Treasury is bringing the full weight of our authorities to defend the integrity.
Oh, Kevin Warsh. Yeah, Kevin Warsh and Scott Bassett sound exactly the same.
Of the U.S. global.
Like they sound almost like they got a golden Donald Trump butt plug in their butt.
Systems. More than 20 years ago, in the wake of 9/11, Treasury became the first finance ministry in the world to establish an office dedicated to disrupting the funding networks of terrorist organizations. Treasury's Office of Terrorism and Financial Intelligence, referred to as TFI, was created in recognition of the reality that America's financial system is essential to its national security. TFI's mandate to identify, disrupt, and disable illicit foreign funds that threaten our homeland has become one of the Treasury's defining responsibilities. And today, we are extending...
Hey, what up, David? Oh yeah, for sure. He's definitely... All those stooges, they're all horrible. The whole cabinet.
Biden mission to meet an evolving threat. The resurgence of organized political terrorism has long occupied a blind spot. The international community has struck...
Hey, what's up, everyone? What's up, man? What's up, Animal? What's up, Amber? What up, David? What up, Ollie, Small, Larry, Mike Brennan, Joe White, Ann Grosvenor, Rosa. What's up, everybody? What's up, Estil Avachica? Hey, thanks for everyone that's hanging out and sharing your opinions. Appreciate it. That's what it's all about. YouTubeville watch party so we can all have a town hall and shoot the shit.
Identify this danger, much less defeat it. But as the threat of terrorism evolves, the institution tools that defend against it must adapt. We once understood terrorism principally as an external menace that is no longer the world we inhabit. Increasingly, we are confronting sophisticated, organized networks.
Oh yeah, for sure. You got it, Jennifer. Thank you for being here. That's what we're here for, you know? So we can all just watch it together, utilize our critical thinking skills, and come to conclusions. And the conclusion is, and has been, is that Donald Trump and his whole regime need to be removed, impeached, removed, and imprisoned. So a blue wave tsunami.
Cross borders to incite violence within them. Meanwhile, old ideological boundaries are now giving way to new operational alliances. The unified front between international Marxism and radical Islamic movements need not share the same ultimate vision to share the same immediate enemy of free and self-governing societies. That convergence should concern every government represented in this room. These terrorists understand an enduring truth. Societies are rarely subverted from afar until they have first been weakened from within. So as it tears at the social fabric.
All right, so check it out. So the White House page just pulled up. Now it says that you know they're gonna pull up once you see that. So Donald Trump will coming up to the podium any minute. So I got that on the window so we don't miss it. So once that starts, we'll jump over there. But in the meantime, we'll listen to this nerd right here.
That allows our societies to function. Left-wing terrorism is the visible manifestation of a much broader and more insidious effort to undermine the philosophies that built Western civilization and sustain all we hold dear. Some of these activities are overt: bombings, assassinations, and organized violence in our streets. Others are quieter: campaigns to suppress speech, intimidate political opposition, and sabotage our national institutions. Of course, whatever form they take, none of these attacks sustain themselves. Violence requires money, channels through which funding can move, and institutions behind which it can hide. Increasingly, legitimate nonprofit and charitable structures are being exploited as a mechanism to conceal the movement of illicit funds to support political terrorism. For Treasury, the application of our authorities to combat these networks represents the natural evolution of our mission. Through our Office of Foreign Assets Control, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and IRSCI, we have spent decades developing the world's most sophisticated financial counterterrorism capabilities. And now we are mobilizing some of the same tools that we have deployed against terrorists abroad to confront this emerging threat here at home. Like every form of illicit finance, these networks rely on the global financial system. It is our mandate to deny terrorist groups access to those channels. Now, we think of nonprofits and charities as good, altruistic organizations, and most of them are. We think they represent the very best of civil society. Many of them do. But the very qualities that make these institutions worthy of the public's trust can also make them appealing to those who endeavor to exploit them. At President Trump's direction, Treasury is expanding its efforts to identify organizations that abuse charitable and nonprofit structures as vehicles for illicit finance. We are examining where tax-exempt status has been exploited, where charitable entities have become financial conduits for foreign influence activity, and how those entrusted with stewardship of these organizations have instead enabled violence. Where the evidence leads, we will not hesitate to follow. And of course, we will hold these organizations, officers, directors, accountable. And just as financial institutions must know their clients, they must know their grantees. That work is well underway. In the fall, the United States designated 4 far-left Antifa extremist groups abroad as foreign terrorist organizations, denying them access to the U.S. financial system and depriving them of resources they need to carry out.
It's like the movie 1984, or like, you know, it's like Obey.
Meanwhile, in this administration alone, OFAC has also sanctioned 17 sham charities and nonprofit organizations.
All the MAGA cult members are all bootlickers. All of a sudden, they want to obey and comply.
For funding Hamas's terrorist activities and operations. As Treasury continues to map and disrupt the flow of funding that enables these entities to operate, no terror organization should delude itself into the belief that its financing lies beyond our reach. No facilitator.
Hey, what's up, Blue Feather? Oh yeah, Soylent Green. Yeah, because all those homeless people that were in Washington D.C., like they just kind of like disappeared, like that they're never heard from again. And like Alcatraz, all of a sudden they shut it down.
That anonymity confers impunity, and no jurisdiction should expect
Donald Trump's eating the immigrants.
Enable or harbor these activities without consequence. To be clear, in the fight against domestic terrorism, we must respect the constitutional rights, freedom of speech, association.
Yeah, I got my freedom of speech for you, Basent. Chinga tu madre, puto.
Assembly of all Americans. As such, it is important to emphasize that Treasury will act based on suspected unlawful conduct by these terror organizations, not because of their beliefs or ideologies. At Treasury, this work is mission critical, but we cannot do it alone. The threat is transnational. Our response must be no less so. Indeed, our cooperation must be as disciplined as the networks we seek to dismantle. The global financial system is one of the great achievements of the modern world, and we never must allow it to become a sanctuary for those who seek to subvert it. So on behalf of the United States Treasury, let there be no uncertainty about the work before us and the resolve with which we will undertake it. We will identify illicit funding, however artfully it is concealed. We will dismantle the networks that sustain political terrorism, however respectable their fronts may be. We will pursue those who enable political violence, however distant their jurisdictions, and we will deepen our collaboration with every nation represented in this room for as long as this work requires. This is our commitment, and we ask that you make yours too.
What they're doing with this speech, they're just all talk. What they're doing with this speech is they're just setting the stage for when they do some weird shit. It's like a dog whistle to their cult members.
Rubio, thank you again for convening us here this morning. Let us work together to translate the spirit endures well beyond it. And let us deny our adversaries.
So yeah, the whole press conference these dudes did, Narco Bubio and Stephen Miller and Scott Bessent here with their resurgence of political terrorism, bringing up like the Black Liberation Army and like the Black Panthers from the 70s and the Weathermen group. These guys are bringing up shit from like 50 years ago. That's how desperate and pathetic they are.
One thing on which they count most, that those of us assembled in this room will grow weary in our cooperation before they do. Thank you all for being here today in the U.S. Treasury.
All right, screw you, Bissett. All right, let's go check. So we're still waiting for Donald Trump, the orange turd, to pull up to the podium. But in the meantime, let's see what John Ossoff has to say ahead of Trump's speech. So this just came out 6 hours ago, so this is recent. This is John Ossoff.
That might offend the president.
The honorable John Ossoff.
Okay, first of all, thank you for joining me, and I want to touch on yesterday's disastrous appearance in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee by Jay Clayton, the president's nominee to be the director of national intelligence. It's a position of sacred trust and obligation to the American public and America's national security. And through his ceaseless evasion and stonewalling and his point blank refusal to state basic facts that might offend the president, Mr. Clayton yesterday demonstrated that he lacks the integrity and the independence to be the director of national intelligence. It was a disqualifying and disastrous appearance for the nominee, particularly given the continued misuse of America's intelligence services and intelligence authorities and personnel by this president in the pursuit of 2020 election denialism and conspiracy theories, which brings me to the president's anticipated address this evening. Here's what's going to happen tonight. The world's most famous sore loser will deliver a primetime presidential sour grapes address to pursue his 6-year-old grievances about the 2020 election, while his war in the Middle East spirals out of control and the cost of living continues to rise for Americans across the country. I expect the president to reheat debunked conspiracy theories about the repeatedly litigated and audited and confirmed 2020 presidential election in Georgia, an election that Donald Trump lost. And let me be very clear about this. If the president declares Georgia's elections illegitimate, or if the president declares Georgia's sitting United States senators illegitimate, he is declaring Georgia voters illegitimate. It's Donald Trump who tried to defraud Georgia voters in that election. Donald Trump who tried to commit election fraud when he called Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, and it was caught on tape, and you should play the tape for your viewers today, and badgered and bullied Georgia's top election official to, quote, find him the votes that he needed to win in a state where he had lost. Thank you again all so much for being here. I'll just close by saying that this is the last thing Georgia Republicans want Donald Trump talking about right now. But every single elected Republican in the state of Georgia should have to answer on the record today and tomorrow about the president's outrageous conspiracy theories. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to your questions, and I'll let my team call upon you. Go ahead.
Senator, you've been talking about this a fair amount since this broke on Tuesday. Do you think this is an advantage for your campaign that the president is going to come out here and sow doubt in the 2020 elections? Is this going to help you, do you think, in November?
Look, I think first of all, it is misconduct, presidential misconduct, to abuse the bully pulpit and to abuse intelligence authorities and declassification authorities, if indeed that's what he'll do tonight, in order to pursue his sour grapes election denialism, trying to overturn an election that he lost 6 years ago. And I think that every elected leader in the country, Democrat or Republican, has an obligation to denounce this. Two most popular Republican elected officials in Georgia are Governor Brian Kemp and Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. And why are they respected in Georgia beyond party lines? It's because they refused to help Donald Trump steal the 2020 election.
CBS News is reporting that part of this speech may also touch on claims that China meddled in U.S. elections. In your role on the Intel Committee, have you ever been briefed on anything along those lines? Do you believe those allegations have any merit?
I don't talk about Intelligence Committee matters, but I don't know what the president's going to say tonight.
Senator, you've been critical of what you see as the Trump family and Donald Trump profiting off of him being in office. There's a report today that his teleprompter operator made like $100,000 off Kalshi by making bets off of what he knew from the teleprompter. I was curious what your reaction is to that.
Well, there's a culture of corruption in this White House. And there's a reason more and more people are calling this the Mar-a-Lago Mafia. The president has pocketed billions of dollars personally, while he has driven the cost of living for American families to record highs. There was a report just in the last few days that the president may have accepted $2 million from a company under active trade investigation by the US government. And I think part of the reason the president so fears defeat in these midterm elections is the prospect of accountability being.
Oh shit, Donald Trump just pulled up to the podium. All right, let's go. Hold on, guys. Let's see. All right, here we go.
World types and 11th. Good evening. Before we begin, I'm proud to report that our country is safer, stronger, and far wealthier than it has ever been before. We are doing great. Less than 2 years ago, we inherited an economic and social disaster after the worst inflation in 48 years, the wide open book.
Oh yeah, keep in mind, folks, that this guy's diaper is so full of shit that it's coming out of his mouth. So just know that every single thing that comes out of his mouth is nothing but utter lies. So this is Donald Trump's press conference that's happening tonight, where he's crying like a big baby about the 2020 elections.
Millions and millions of people pouring in from all over the world, including criminals of all types, and 11,888 murders, many of whom killed more than one person. We had transgender for everybody, men and women sports, crime ravaging our cities, and the whole world was laughing at us as a nation, but not anymore. 2 years ago, our country was dead. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world. America is respected like we have never been respected before. We have more money being invested in the United States than at any time in the history of our country. More Americans are working today than ever before. This week it was announced that inflation saw the largest monthly decline in more than 6 years. Just happened. It was just given out. The media reported it, and we accept it. The best in 6 years. The tax cuts in our great, big, beautiful bill are saving hardworking families thousands and thousands of dollars. Like with the provisions, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors, along with the interest deduction on a loan used to purchase a car, but only if that car is made in America, and a 100% expensing for our job creating businesses. Our stock markets are at their highest point in many years, but we can actually say of all time. And your 401ks, pensions, and retirement accounts are setting records every single day, the highest in history. For years, we paid the highest price for prescription drugs anywhere in the world. Now we pay the lowest price under my most favored nation's policy because I was able to get the rest of the world and the pharmaceutical companies to act responsibly. Drug prices are coming down by 70, 80, and 90%. TrumpRx.gov, this will ultimately reduce the cost of healthcare. You have to go to TrumpRx.gov and take advantage of it. But the cost of healthcare is coming way down because of what we've done with prescription drugs. And
oh my God, what a loser. Trump RX. Yeah, I wouldn't sign my kid up for that. Shit, probably only like, yeah, I wouldn't trust Dr. Oz giving me like an Advil.
Trump accounts every child in America now.
I wouldn't trust Dr. Oz taking my temperature. What the hell's wrong with Trump? He looks like a rotisserie chicken that's been sitting on the heat lamp all day at Walmart.
Access to a tax-free investment account to save for their future. Billions and billions of dollars are being invested, put in by companies and individuals to take care of our children so that at age 18, they will have potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in their account, and they'll get off to a great start in life. So for that, go to TrumpAccounts.gov and sign up your child or any child who'd like to sign up. Our previously wide open borders have been transformed into the most secure borders in the history of our country, with 0 illegal aliens being admitted to the United States in the past 14 months. That is 0. Nobody thought it was possible. We had the worst border in the history of our country, and now we have the best. Crime is plummeting nationwide, with the murder rate at its lowest level since 1900, or more than 125 years ago. We're making a record investment in our armed forces, and we have the strongest and most powerful military by far anywhere in the world. I built it during my first term, and unfortunately, we're forced to use it now. We won in Venezuela, which is now working with us to produce millions and millions of barrels of oil. We are likewise winning big in Iran, and you will see the fruits of that labor very, very short.
Oh God, here comes the lies, guys. Just everything is just lies. Nothing but lies, 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 and gaslighting, gaslighting, gaslighting. He stole all of Venezuela's oil, and he's selling all the gas over there in Pennsylvania under Freedom Gas.
America is back and doing really well, but we still have a major challenge that must be urgently addressed, because no country can be great without fair and honest elections. You have to trust your country, because if there can be no trust, there can be no greatness. And that's very simple. No trust, no greatness. For many years, I've called for bold, swift, and decisive action to protect the integrity of America's elections. Every American deserves to know that when they cast their vote, that vote will be counted accurately in a system, and that is to make that system secure. One where cheating and interference are not just difficult, but virtually impossible. Unfortunately, the system we have today falls catastrophically short of that standard. Tonight, I'm announcing the immediate declassification and release of critical intelligence revealing shocking vulnerabilities in our election infrastructure. This evidence shows that the election system we have dangerously exposes, and really exposes like levels never thought possible, to hacking, exploitation, and foreign interference. Just as disturbingly, this vital information has for many years been covered up and hidden from you, the American people, our beautiful, our great American people. But that all changes right now. The documents we will release starting tonight have been gathered by the White House Government Transparency Task Force, a great group of people, along with the staff of the President's Intelligence Advisory Board, supported by our top intelligence agency chiefs, who have all personally reviewed the findings we are presenting this evening and fully confirmed their authenticity. You can see these documents for yourself at whitehouse.gov. That's whitehouse.gov. Go check it out. Our purpose in disclosing this information is not to weaken confidence in election, but to earn that confidence.
Oh my God, he did this speech just to tell people to go to whitehouse.gov. You could have just tweeted that and not done this whole press conference. What a moron.
By confronting vulnerabilities and correcting them very, very quickly, and that's what we're doing. The documents cover 5 major areas of concern. First, they show that over a period of years, starting during the 2020 election cycle, the People's Republic of China carried out what is believed to be the largest compromise of election data in history, resulting in China's illicit acquisition of 220 million US voter files. That information includes names, addresses, phone numbers, political party preferences, and other sensitive data that would be needed to register to vote and engage in other nefarious activities, which is exactly what was happening. This data loss presents an unprecedented election security nightmare. The intelligence even shows that China signed a data exploitation unit specifically to this new project. Compounding the travesty, the second set of documents we are releasing reveals that members of the deep state, very, very famous group of people, many cases, in our intelligence agency work to actively suppress and downplay information about the extent of China's sinister election meddling, covering it up from both the president and the American people like nobody thought was possible. U.S. spy agencies began learning about the compromise of voter registration files in 2020 when they discovered that tens of millions of voter data, think of that, tens of millions of voters' data in 18 states have been bought, stolen, or hacked by China. Yet those responsible for sounding the alarm instead kept the information secret and hidden. They did not disclose to me as president or to anyone else, and to the best of our knowledge, they did not inform Congress. In fact, all they kept saying is, this is the most secure election in the history of our country. A standard, very pat line that was divvied out to say. The cover-up of this colossal security breach is even more disturbing in light of the additional information showing that China engaged in other election-related activities to undermine my first administration and our 2020 campaign. They did not want, and they just didn't want it. They fought like hell not to have it Donald Trump to win, and for good reason. As the documents we are releasing show, CIA reporting explicitly stated, and I quote, in mid-2018, the Chinese Communist Party's policy was to leverage all domestic and foreign elements that were opposed to the U.S. president in an effort to reduce the U.S. president's votes and make him resign or prevent his re-election. Isn't that nice? Also, in mid-2018, China was working to influence the results of the U.S. midterm elections and later the results of the 2020 presidential election itself. Separately, in mid-2019, the Chinese government's strategy against the United States was focused on undermining domestic confidence in the U.S. president. They wanted to just make you sound like your president wasn't so hot, when actually your president has done a great job, and they did everything possible to do exactly that. Going on, this document says, and this is by the CIA, the strategy included efforts to use Chinese contacts with big U.S. companies to influence U.S. business leaders to turn against the President of the United States of America. The Chinese government sought to identify U.S. journalists who had reported negatively on the U.S. president and pay them large sums of money to write more negative articles about him, as many as they could, and they didn't care what they said. The Chinese government wanted U.S. president to lose the next election, and the reason they wanted me to lose is because they knew I was wise to them, charged them billions and billions of dollars worth of tariffs.
Listen to this moron. What a fairy tale.
And built the strongest military anywhere in the world. We have the strongest military anywhere in the world. These are exact quotes from the CIA reporting. The name of the person doing the quote is now under review, but it gets even worse. Raw intelligence obtained by the FBI in 2020, yet buried by rogue bureaucrats, stated that China's activities even included an attempt to manufacture illegal ballots for Joe Biden. Documents show that during this period, dozens of significant CIA and NSA reports about China's election targeting were kept out of the presidential briefing. These were briefings I would get almost every day. Everything was kept out that was of importance. One email among intelligence analysts admitted that they had, quote, deliberately massaged the presidential daily briefing to withhold information regarding Chinese activities related to the election. Another official inside the FBI wrote that she was running, quote, a shadow government, unquote, to keep intelligence about China's election meddling from becoming known and to keep it away from the honorable press. Other officials who witnessed such efforts perceive the motivations to be blatantly political. Recently, we found significant numbers of burn bags in formation, and this is a group of bags that were used to destroy information given by President Barack Hussein Obama to be burned. It was supposed to be burned. These bags were supposed to be at a different level by different people, incinerated and checked, but it never happened. Maybe we got lucky. We believe this was not done on purpose, but rather through gross incompetence of the people that was supposed to burn the bag. But the findings are stunning. Today, I'm asking the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the CIA to investigate how and why such crucial information was hidden, to fire those involved in the cover-up, and to file criminal charges, if appropriate, against these people. Yet concealing China's meddling was only the beginning. The third set of documents we are releasing proves that for many years, Americans were blatantly lied to about the security of our election infrastructure, including electronic voting machines and ballot counting systems. Dishonest, almost all. They're vulnerable and they're easily compromised, and people within our government knew that. Tonight, we're publishing a series of previously classified U.S. intelligence community assessments and other reports proving that our government has long known these machines are extremely exposed to attack. As one assessment states, we judge that the United States adversaries, including at a minimum Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, as well as non-state groups, have the capability to compromise U.S. election infrastructure. That's unquote, but that's some statement, isn't it? Made by supposedly great patriots of our country. The document goes on to further state that, quote, we assess that centralized election-related data repositories, such as voter registration databases, poll books, and other official election websites, are most vulnerable to exploitation, and adversaries could use this access to these systems to disrupt election processes within the United States of America. Tonight, we're releasing all of those findings, and spanning from January 2020 to June 2026, this is a cyber threat aimed at the very heart of our democracy. Many people have questioned whether it could actually be possible to electronically manipulate vote totals or change election results on these terrible machines. Today, we are releasing documents that show the CIA obtained reporting of a specific plot to do a big number in favor of the corrupt Maduro regime in Venezuela. And that's exactly what happened, conspiring to digitally rig their own country's elections in 2020, and that's what they did. This reporting included precise details about methods to regime develop to digitally alter vote totals in ways that could not be detected even with an audit, no matter how deep they went. This intelligence underscores why we must take urgent action to ensure that our own system can never, ever be hacked or compromised like it was in the past. The fourth set of documents reveals that even when significant evidence of fraud has been detected, it has been buried and covered up. Among the disclosures tonight are FBI files detailing evidence of alleged fraud by a large-scale voter registration operation in Michigan. In 2020, Michigan State Police raided a Democrat Get Out the Vote organization, corrupt group in Muskegon. And we're so concerned by what they found. They were just so concerned, they couldn't believe it actually, that they contacted the FBI in Detroit. The documents state that some canvassers admitted to FBI agents that they signed voter registration forms in other people's names. submitted fraudulent registration for people who did not exist, and received gift cards tied to their number of applications that they produced. In other words, it was pay, play, and cheat. The FBI agents working on the case believe that crimes were committed, yet the Biden Department of Justice slow-walked the investigation and killed it. Tonight, I'm asking the FBI director to ensure that the matter is fully investigated and to work with the Department of Justice to prosecute those responsible for any crimes. Finally, to reveal just how vulnerable our elections continue to be, we are releasing the results of a stunning investigation by the Department of Homeland Security. According to the DHS review, state voter rolls and public records, they identified approximately 278,000 non-citizens who are registered to vote in federal elections. Since Democrat states refuse to share their voter files, the real number is actually much higher than that. Yet, even this limited analysis found more than 250,000 foreigners illegally registered to vote. Put together, these disclosures reveal an election system so broken and so vulnerable that no one can possibly defend it. It is not defensible. Hundreds of millions of U.S. voter files are in the hands of foreign governments. Our machines and ballot counting systems are exposed to hacking, manipulation, and corruption. China and other countries have been trying to meddle in our elections. Evidence of fraud has been buried. Hundreds of thousands of non-citizens and dead people are listed and active on the voter rolls. And yet we still have elections with no voter ID, no proof of citizenship, and tens of millions of ballots floating aimlessly through the mail. As one example of the insanity, California's recent election for mayor of LA and governor was held on June 2nd, long time ago, but it was just completed a few days ago on July 10th. Think of that, much more than 1 month. Took a month to count the votes. I wonder what they were doing. This is worse than any third world country. There's no third world country that has elections like we have. In a rare move, NBC and ABC Fake News have both said they would not cover this speech. They knew what it was about because of the fact that they don't like the topic, because they know how corrupt our system is and they don't want to reveal it. They and others in the media are part of a plot. They want to continue this fraud for whatever reason. They want to keep it going. They want to protect the radical left. They can't have a great country, and that's true. You can't have a great country without free and fair elections. Fraud like this should mean a revocation of their licenses. They use our public multi-billion-dollar in value airways for absolutely no money. They pay nothing. All we want is honesty in our elections and honesty in reporting. They pay nothing for multi-billion-dollar assets. Great damage has been done to our country. Our elections were left vulnerable to being rigged and stolen, and the trust of the American people was lost. This cannot be allowed to continue. Every American, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, Independent, or otherwise, should be able to agree that we deserve the most secure, honest, and fair election system anywhere in the world. Secure elections should be a partisan, really, we should be together. Democrats, Republicans, Independents, everybody.
Notice how he says Democrats when he wants something. He doesn't say Democrats.
And he should not.
Why don't you say Democrats, you orange cowardly turd? Like you always like to say, you loser.
Be a partisan issue. It should cause to unite us, not to divide us. This should be a cause. We should be united, not divided. In light of the brand new and irrefutable information I have revealed tonight, my administration is in the process of notifying the states whose election data was compromised by the People's Republic of China and many others. We will be working closely to mitigate any harm, and we're taking swift action to ensure that sensitive voter data is better protected.
Man, all you can mitigate is your diaper. Or you can't even mitigate your diaper.
So we can never be bought, we can never be hacked, and we can never watch a stolen election again. Tomorrow, the Secretary of Homeland Security will hold a briefing to outline his department's recent work confirming cyber vulnerabilities in our electronic voting systems. They are bad. We're in the process of informing governors, senators, and members of Congress of potential issues in their states. If you look at voting today, it's in such bad shape in so many states, and we are committing to fix it. And we're also committing to be working with those states and local jurisdictions to help them fix and patch known technical vulnerabilities before the midterm elections. We have very important elections coming up.
There was actually a survey done, and it says that the top 10 worst states are actually they're all Republican states. So of the 50 states, the top 10 worst are all Republican states.
Want those elections, to be honest. I've also ordered DHS to notify every state about non-citizens on their voter rolls and direct them to remove all ineligible voters from the lists immediately. But most importantly, addressing this crisis of election security demands that Congress must pass the Save America Act.
Save the Maggot Act is what it is.
How easy is that to do unless you want to cheat? The only reason you wouldn't do it is you want to cheat because your policies are so bad and your candidates are so pathetic that you can't get away or can't get elected any other way. This landmark bill requires that all voters must show photo voter ID. How simple is that? Could I have your photo, please? Photo voter ID. All voters must provide proof of citizenship. Are you a citizen of our country, please? And hopefully there will be no corrupt mail-in ballots, which if you watched California and so many other places, mail-in ballots are inherently corrupt. So you would have no mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military deployment, or travel if you're going away on business or vacation. These reforms are urgently needed to stop the vulnerabilities that I've mentioned. To all Americans, I ask you to pick up your phone tomorrow, call your representatives in the House and Senate, and demand that they pass the Save America Act without delay. Together we will restore faith and confidence in our country, and we will be bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. Thank you. God bless you. God bless our great military.
Yeah, and fuck you, orange turd. All right, let's move on. So that was another waste of time from Trump. All he had to do was just tweet. Just go to go to his whitehouse.gov. What a moron. All right, let's go. Hey, what up, everyone? Thanks for hanging out. It's still hot over here in LA. What up, Carlo? We got Carlo the homie right here hanging out. What's up, buddy? You coolin'? Oh yeah, good boy. How you doing, Carlo? You doing all right? This is the real Orange King, guys. Carlo, sit. Yeah, that's the real Orange King. Oh, stretch it out. Stretch it. Yeah, stretch. All right, sit. Oh, yeah, stretch. Get the back legs. Good boy. What's up, buddy? You ready to go to walk? It's still too hot, though. It's still too hot. It's like 100 degrees. We'll go in like an hour. All right? That's when the sun goes down. How's that sound? All right, good boy. All right, that's Carlo the Husky, the real Orange King right here. All right, let's move on. What's up, Carlo? You back for more? Oh, you kicking it? He's cooling. We chilling. Yeah, it's still like 90 degrees over here, and it's 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So let's go finish watching this before the orange turd interrupted John Ossoff. Let's go finish watching John Ossoff, and then after John Ossoff, we'll check out Al Green. See what he had to say. But thanks for everyone that's hanging out, hitting the like button, sharing your opinions, and subscribing. Appreciate you guys. All right, let's see if I can find this. All right, here we go. Back where we left off.
Posed by the United States Congress under Democratic control.
What should happen with these predictive markets? I mean, should there be some? I mean, should they be some sort of calling?
Ability being imposed by the United States Congress under Democratic control.
What should happen with these predictive markets? I mean, should there be some? I mean, should they be some sort of calling them for them to be bans? You know, that the government, people in government should not be able to use them. What do you say about that?
So insider trading is clearly unacceptable, and there's clearly a need for some regulation.
Senator, if the polls currently show that you are up in multiple polls, including with Fox News, if that continues, and considering the president's attempt to try to, especially with China, to do the speech tonight, if you win, and even going up to the election, are you preparing to counter Mr. Trump's allegations that you may not win this election and that the 2020 election was illegitimate?
I think one of the reasons that the president's reheating these debunked conspiracy theories and spreading new lies is because he's laying the groundwork for a potential challenge to the result. Another bad faith challenge. Remember again and again, you guys got to play the tape so people recall it, that the sitting president of the United States called up Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger and demanded that he find him the exact number of votes to win in a state that he had lost. Unacceptable misconduct, and his misconduct continues to this day.
Are you preparing for it again?
Sam?
Are you worried that some of the safeguards that existed in 2020 do not exist in 2026? The Georgia State Election Board composition has changed, there's been an overhaul at the federal level when it comes to election protection. What specifically are you worried about when it gets to election day and the days after this fall?
Look, my team and I are going to mount an all-out effort to defend voting rights in the state of Georgia, and it will be the solemn obligation of election officials to, without fear or favor, and without concern for partisan outcomes, administer these elections fairly and properly and according to law. But I'll tell you this, here's what I'm hearing in Georgia. These attacks on voting rights are galvanizing a defiant determination to show up at the polls like never before. Remember that Georgia is the seat and the spiritual and civic home of the civil rights movement and the movement that secured the Voting Rights Act. And so when Donald Trump and his allies come down to Georgia and attack voting rights, they're just motivating people to participate in our democracy and to use their voting rights.
I know members of the Georgia delegation have been pushing for more information, but just to be clear, have you gotten any further information about the outcome of that Fulton County raid, where those ballots are?
No. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Take care, guys.
All right, so that was John Ossoff right there. Let's go see what this clown has to say real quick. Tom Hamface Homan.
Happened yesterday with this here to discuss reporters are Tom Holman. Tom, it's good to see you tonight. Tell us, if you would, what happened yesterday with this pause.
All right, this is a scumbag right here named Tom Hamface Homan, and this is like a statement he gave earlier today on the news. So here he is, $50,000 in the bag, Homan.
On the vehicle stops, it initially struck me as a bit of an reaction, given the fact that we have thousands of these stops that happen peacefully every month. But it seemed like the president was not happy about this.
Well, I've done this a long time. Vehicle stops are our main tool for us to do our job, and we got to continue that. I think it was blown out of proportion a little bit. I don't think Mark Twain Mullen ever intended people to think we're doing away with the policy. He wanted to do a short-term policy just to make sure that the agents out there on these operations have the vehicle stop training, and do they have the tools necessary to keep safe. Here's my concern. You're exactly right. This all comes back to the Dems, who are telling people don't comply with ICE. ICE is not a real law enforcement agency. Here's how you evade ICE. Now, you and I talked about AOC a year ago. She says, well, I'm advising my constituents of their constitutional rights. Don't open your door. Don't comply. You see signs of these protests, resist. And this is a problem. You need to comply with law enforcement. So here's my concern. I think Mark Twain might have been one of the reasons he wanted to look at temporary pause. I'm scared to death because assault vehicles are sky high. There's been a lot of shootings. I'm scared to death that one of these days, our ICE officers aren't going to be quick enough. The bad guys will be quicker. And I'm going to hand another folded flag to a spouse or a child. So, President Trump's clear this policy is not going away. But it all goes back to the Dems who want to continue to attack ICE and tell people to evade them, tell people don't comply, tell people to resist, and tell people ICE isn't real law enforcement agency. You and I talked about this 1.5 years ago, Laura. I said the hateful rhetoric didn't stop. There will be bloodshed. And I'm saying it right now. There's still going to be more bloodshed unless they shut their mouth and let ICE enforce the laws that they enacted.
But just going back to the stop issue, Tom, do you have full confidence that the agents, especially the newer agents, again, they're trying to do their best under very difficult circumstances, but that they have adequate training to do the types of stops that have to be done? I know there's a process for stopping someone. Usually you pin them in, 3-point pin, I think. But have they had that training? Are you confident that they are fully equipped to carry those stops out?
Look, the agency as a whole, I've been a while since I went to the academy, but I pulled the training curriculum on vehicle stops. And it's good training. It's sufficient training. It's practically the same training Border Patrol vehicle stops have. And I was a cop in New York. It's pretty much the same training. So I look at the curriculum. The curriculum is fine. It really talks about when do you stop a car? How do you approach a car? At what point do you engage the occupants of the car? What authorities do you have to get into the car? At what point do you make an arrest or detain for reasonable suspicion? So I think the training is adequate. I don't know these specific officers on these operations, what training they had, but if they went through the ICE Academy and they went through the curriculum, they're very well trained. I think with all the incidents we've seen this year, without having an officer, bearing an officer, I think they're performing very well in their duties. I mean, the hate is, as 9,000% increase in death threats, over 14% increase in actual attacks on ICE. Under very difficult circumstances, they're performing very well.
Just another question. This individual came into the country across the border during Biden in 2023, but then he was given work authorization last spring. Explain to our viewers how that happens. That doesn't seem right to me.
I just found that out this afternoon. I'm asked that question. I'll get an answer. I don't understand it here. But here again, this young man is dead because he is conditioned that ICE isn't a real agency. Ignore him. Don't comply. I just can't believe any member of the Hill is instructing people don't comply with law enforcement. So, I've asked that question more. I'm getting an answer to it because I find it, strange myself, and we'll get to the bottom of it. But look, President Trump was clear in his message. He's not going to remove any tools from ICE to enforce the law. The numbers right now are sky high. The rest, I shared yesterday, June of last month, ICE made more arrests than any month in the history of the agency. We're hitting on all cylinders. We got a foot on the gas.
Democrats don't like that. Democrats don't like that. They want an open border and no deportations. That's what they want. That's their goal. They don't care about these migrants. They want an open border.
I don't care. I'm not running a popularity contest. I'm there to make sure President Trump, who's the greatest president of my lifetime, by the way, who won the election to secure the border and enforce immigration law, we're doing it. And then were the numbers down a few months ago? Yeah, the government shut down. DHS was shut down, and the Democrats knew what they were doing. But guess what? We got the reconciliation bill. Now we're hitting all cylinders right now.
All right, Tom, and I know we're going to get a full investigation as to what happened. And we're looking forward to seeing the results of that investigation. But we got a lot of Americans abused, dead, and displaced from the workplace because of illegal aliens. And Democrats don't care. But we want the facts on this. Democrats don't care about Sheridan Gorman's facts or Stephanie Minter's facts or any of the other young women who have been abused by illegals. All they say, Tom, is, oh, well, illegals commit.
Look at these two intellectual giants get together. What a bunch of losers.
And then American citizens. So that you say?
They don't want us to arrest their future Democratic voters. That's what they believe. They let millions of people in this country released from the country illegally, by the way, because they think the next Democrat administration is going to award amnesty to who they think is future Democratic voters. We're ruining their long-term plans. This is all about future power. It's not about security of the homeland. It's not about making our streets safe again, which President Trump is doing every day. Every criminal alien we take off the street makes this country safe again. Every illegal alien, non-criminal, that we take off the street sends a message to the whole world. There's no free giveaway here anymore. You enter the country illegally, you're going to be deported, you're going to be detained, you will not be released under President Trump.
Tom, we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Jesus.
Be sure to like and subscribe for.
You guy's a moron. Yeah, screw Tom Hamface Homan. All right, let's go see what Al Green had to say from Capitol Hill today. There's Al Green.
January 3rd, 2025, the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Green, is recognized for 60 minutes as the designee of the minority leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and still I rise, and today in the name of we the people. I rise, censured, Mr. Speaker, but not silenced. I rise as a unbossed, liberated Democrat, and some would also add unelected, liberated Democrat. My friends over on racist radio say that proudly, and they have a lot of alacrity when they say it. And they seem to say it because they seem to think that somehow they played a role in it happening. But be that as it may, I still rise in the name of we the people. And I rise in the name of we the people today, Mr. Speaker, because of concern that I have with the killing that took place in Houston, Texas. As a result of some other things that happened, there was a killing in Maine. I sent out a tweet, as it were. I'm not sure that they're called tweet anymore, but a message by way of the electronic media and social media. And I'd like to read this message because it's the essence of my message today. It reads, "At real Donald Trump, I am told that by saying at real Donald Trump in this message, the president should have an opportunity to hear about it and possibly read it himself. At real Donald Trump, your ICE force has killed a person in Maine. After the killings of Good and Petty and Araujo without accountability, we cannot trust your Homeland Security or Justice Department to investigate ICE. Quote, we the people demand accountability and congressional oversight. I rise in the name of we the people to demand accountability and oversight. And I do so because, quite frankly, I'm concerned about the possibility of a cover-up. And I'm also concerned about the possibility of a cleanup. Let's start with the cleanup, and then I'll move into the cover-up. The cleanup. You might recall, friends, that there was an assault on the citadel of democracy, this Capitol. You might recall also that there were persons who engaged in this dastardly act of cowardice. They were here to prevent the peaceful transfer of power. At the insistence of the president, it seems, he delivered incisive commentary that caused much of what happened that day to take place. So they were here, and they did some things that were unlawful. They were unlawful, and we know they were unlawful because they were prosecuted, many of them. Not just 5 or 10, not just 20 or 30, not just 100 or 200, hundreds of them prosecuted. And after they were prosecuted, convicted, sentenced. And we also know that the president, upon being reelected, one of his first acts as a new president for a new term of office, this was not his first term, his second term, his first act was to pardon the people who assaulted the citadel of democracy at a time when there was an attempt to engage in a peaceful transfer of power, something that our country is known for far and wide. Peaceful transfer of power. After he pardoned them, they were able to walk freely. They were pardoned. Now, let's bring that forward. Given what has happened to the persons who were here to prevent the peaceful transfer of power, who were convicted and who were pardoned by the president, the people who are a part of the ICE force, these people are very much aware of what happened, and they know that the president who gave a pardon to those persons who assaulted the citadel of democracy, they know that this president can provide them a pardon too if they're charged with a federal offense. They know, and because they know, it is my belief that this somehow has caused some of them to believe that they have a license to exceed what the law allows. Some of them, not all. This is not a condemnation of everybody. This is about the people who have done things that are unlawful, in my opinion. So they know this. And as a result of knowing it, I think they take liberties that they should not, because they know that the president, to borrow a term that we use in my hood, will have their backs. They know. So let's now examine a rationale for my being concerned about the possibility of a cover-up. That was the cleanup, by the way. The cleanup occurred when the president had those persons released, after he pardoned them, of course, released, who had been found guilty. They were released. They were walking freely. Now, by the way, that was lawful. President has every right to pardon people, and he doesn't really have to give a rationale for it. So that was a cleanup of what he started when he engaged in this movement to prevent the peaceful transfer of power. Unfortunately for him, and fortunately for the country, it did not succeed. So now back to where I was. After the cleanup having occurred, and these officers now understanding that the president has this authority, then we have to examine what happened next with Miss Good. Let's talk about Miss Good first. We, with our very own eyes, saw most of what happened with Miss Good. And we can say, because of what we saw, if we want to believe our eyes, that Miss Good was not there to harm anyone. She was unarmed. She's an American citizen. She was engaging in a peaceful protest, unarmed, American citizen, engaging in peaceful protest when confronted by officers who were making demands. And if you saw what happened, you know that it ended with her losing her life. Losing her life. And she said kind things, by the way, to the officers. Kind things. But she lost her life. And we saw this with our own eyes. We saw it. Well, let's move over to Mr. Pretty. Mr. Pretty, we saw as he was prostrate. He was sprawled on the ground, and an officer removed a weapon that he had, but it was after the removal of the weapon that he was shot. He lost his life. American citizen, not armed at the time his life was taken. American citizen, engaging in peaceful protest. These two cases are worthy of following because to this day, we don't have credible information about what has happened. We don't really know when or if there will be charges that will be brought before a court of law such that there will be a trial. These cases are evidence of the fact that at least these investigators are taking an unusual amount of time to bring these cases to the attention of the public in a fashion such that the public will understand that there will or will not be prosecution. I happen to think there should be prosecution. But if there's not going to be prosecution, if they found some evidence beyond what we've been able to see and hear, then I think they should bring this evidence forward and let us have an opportunity to review it so that we can again have the transparency necessary for the public to have the knowledge that it is entitled to when an American citizen has been killed at the hands of the constabulary. We should know. We should have the opportunity to be told by credible sources what the final decision is, whether we are moving forward with trials. With this happening the way it's happening, and given that we were able to see in these two cases most of what happened, didn't see all of it, but most of what happened. In fact, I would say we saw the relevant portions, but there may be something else that's there that we need to see, but we saw relevant portions. Having to see that and not seeing any action taken after all of these months have passed, well, that causes me the consternation and concern that I placed in my message to the masses today, indicating that I am concerned about and would be addressing a possible cover-up. Now, we live in a world where it's not enough for things to be right, they must also look right. Doesn't look right for these two cases to be pending. We have 2 additional cases now, and we also have very little evidence of what actually occurred in one of these cases, and that would be the case with Mr. Araujo. We don't have all of the evidence of what occurred. We saw enough to get some sense of what is likely to have happened. But because we don't have enough evidence, we're told that there were no body cameras, there were no vehicle cameras. We don't have any evidence from the side that should produce evidence, because they should have had their body cameras on. $20 million according to them for body cameras. They should have had vehicle cameras. There should have been cameras, but they don't have the cameras. They don't have the cameras. So now, why would I believe, as in the case with Mr. Araujo, why would I believe the story that the person who is deceased, Mr. Araujo, tried to assault with a vehicle, assault officers with a vehicle? Why would I believe that, given that we have seen stories manifest themselves about the cases that we actually saw, wherein the original stories told were not in conformity with what our eyes allowed us to see? Immediately after the shooting of Pretty, immediately after the shooting of Good, there was a story put forth that was not in conformity with what we saw. So if we know that you will send us a message, a false message about things that we saw, you send a false message about things that we saw, a prevarication about things that we saw, why should I believe that you are going to do anything less in a case where we didn't see everything? I'm concerned about a cover-up. I'm concerned about a cover-up because, as I've explained, these officers are aware that there'll be a cleanup if the president is true to his words and he honors what he says he will do. He has given hints to officers in his prior administration about how they should conduct themselves when arresting people, told the officers, you don't have to be nice. Words from the President of the United States of America about making an arrest. You don't have to be nice. Well, implying that he had their back, implying that we're not as much concerned about law and order as we are about order and law. Law and order means you're going to follow the law to bring about the order necessary. Order and law means you restore order, and I'll provide the law. This is the president, not Al Green. I'll provide the law necessary to protect you. Why should I believe the stories that are being told when we don't see evidence of the cars having collided? Why should I believe when the officers who were engaged in this circumstance that cost the life of a human being in Houston, Texas, they've been secreted away? Why should I believe when you have shut out the engagement of other members of the constabulary of the Houston Police Department? You have said, apparently based upon what I have been told and heard, that the Houston Police Department should not attempt to engage because you were going to take care of this yourselves. The Houston Police Department investigates. It doesn't prosecute, but it's got one of the finest homicide departments in the country. It investigates homicides. The Houston Police Department has investigated police shootings in the past. The Houston Police Department has investigated circumstances where officers who were not in the Houston Police Department, but officers of the law, have been investigated. The Houston Police Department is capable, competent, and qualified to have this investigation. But you're shutting out the Houston Police Department, wherein we could get some scintilla of transparency by virtue of having another authority engaged in the process of investigation. You've shut them out. You've gone so far as to shut out the district attorney in Harris County. They can't get the information that you have such that they can give an analysis. They haven't talked to the officers who were engaged in the shooting. They haven't been able to assess the value that you place on what you now are saying appears to be some sort of drugs that were in the vehicle that Mr. Araujo was driving. Yes, for those who do not know, the allegation is being made now that there may have been drugs in the vehicle. They saw this substance in there, and they are contending that it might be some form of illegal drugs. Why do we believe all of these things when we were told not to believe our eyes in the case of Pretty and Good? Why would we not have some degree of suspicion? Why would we not think that you are, Mr. President, in charge of this ICE force, and you, Mr. President, after the person who is now heading Homeland Security, Mr. Mullen, why would you countermand what he has done? Mr. Mullen, as I understand it by way of news reports, was going to put a pause on stopping cars. Mr. Mullen was going to give a moment of an opportunity to take a look at circumstances and see if there's a better way to do what you're doing. But you, Mr. President, yourself countermanded what came from your Homeland Security Department, and you did it knowing that he had done this because of the way your language was couched as you presented your command that the officers go back to stopping cars. You made that very clear, that they should do that this was something that they should continue to do. Use the term weak. Don't want them to look weak. Mr. President, we have to ask, why would we the people believe that there will be justice served, given that we know that you tend to want to side without having the opportunity to see what actually occurred. You tend to want to decide before seeing and making your decisions about what the officers have done, and then moving from there, it seems, buying through your agents in the Department of Homeland Security and the Justice Department, buying through what they say. And they're at your command. We should make no mistake about it. You are in control. The Supreme Court has given you the green light. You've taken advantage of it. That's why you sent out your message by way of your Truth Social, indicating that you were countermanding the order from the person that you just instilled as your person who is in charge of Homeland Security. So why would we believe? Why should we believe that you are going to do all that you can to assure transparency? To the contrary, it would not be unreasonable for a person to believe that there may be a cover-up, and if not a cover-up, if there is a conviction, that there will be a cleanup. You'll try first to do all that you can to exonerate the officers. Make sure that the investigation centers around whether the person who is deceased, the victim, whether the victim was trying to harm the officers. Now that's what's been said. Make sure the investigation is on whether the victim was trying to harm the officers. I have not heard to date, and I know that initially it was not said, that there would be an investigation as to whether the civil rights of the victim had been violated. No investigation about the civil rights of the victim being violated. Whether the victim was making an effort to assault the officers. The visceral reaction is, let's protect the officers, not let's have a free, open, fair investigation. When I say free for other persons to see and to be a part of. Have a parallel investigation with the Houston Police Department. None of that. None of that. Just immediately decide that you're going to investigate the person who has lost his life without some indication that there will be an investigation as to whether or not the person who lost his life had his civil rights violated, the right to life, whether that has been taken away from him unlawfully. So here we are now. We have Mr. Preddy in Houston. We have two other persons in Minnesota. We have a person in Maine. And we have a president who has taken control himself, has a hands-on experience with what's happening in these departments. Nobody can deny that he is without knowledge of what's going on. His latest messages are indicative of his level of engagement and of the knowledge that he has as it relates to these circumstances. He is in charge. This is his Justice Department. It is his Office of Homeland Security. And these people do believe that they work for him. What makes you say this? That they believe they work for him? Well, just yesterday, Mr. Vogt, who was with the CFPB, Mr. Vogt indicated at a hearing that he works for the president. Just recently as yesterday, or day before, I believe it was yesterday, we had the person who is auditioning before the Senate for a position with the Justice Department. This person made it very clear that he works for the president, or at least he did. He said he was the president's lawyer. Maybe it was a Freudian slip, but he said he was the president's lawyer. Now, so you got people who tend to do whatever you say. When your cabinet meets, there is an effort to see who can give you the most praise. You have them all under your thumbnail. They're all under your control. They all bend the knee to you. They all kiss the ring. They're your people who serve you, not the country. The country is not primary. It may be secondary. It may be tertiary. It could even be quaternary, but it's not primary. they believe in you and report to you. So given these circumstances, why should we believe that you are going to cause the right thing to be done? Mr. President, others have said, and I have said, and I say it now, the blood of the people that I have called to your attention today, the blood of these persons is on your hands. It is. Other people are saying it. Other people are linking you directly to what has happened. And I think they should, given that we know that you are in control, in command, in authority, and that you have knowledge. You're not like a typical president who leaves things to others to do and to decisions to be made. When there's a crucial decision to make, you make it. As evidenced by what you've done with your Truth Social and the case of the gentleman who was killed in Maine. You made the crucial decision as to how the officers will behave when they encounter the opportunity to observe, make an arrest at a later time as opposed to rush in with guns blazing. You've made the decision that they can continue to do what they have been doing, but you do try to cover yourself by using the term judiciously, that they should behave judiciously. Well, that's only to cover. We understand what's going on, Mr. President. And so it seems to me that it would not be unreasonable for a person, a reasonable and prudent person, to conclude that there may be a cover-up in this case. And if there is a conviction in the federal court, there will be a cleanup. Maybe a cover-up and will be a cleanup. If you find that, if the courts find, I shouldn't say if you haven't taken complete control of the courts, you do have an outsized amount of influence, it seems. But if the courts find that there's a federal crime, I'm saying here and now, without question, reservation, or hesitation, I believe that you, Mr. President, will pardon the persons who've taken these lives. I believe that you want to send a message to others, as you did on your first day in office when you pardoned the persons for what happened here on the Citadel of Democracy, at the Citadel when there was a peaceful transfer of power taking place. You want to send a message and let officers know that you have their backs. And you do this because you want to complete your mission of removing persons from this country, many of whom are not the worst of the worst. You want to send a message that you're going to remove, and people should be intimidated, they should be terrorized, and they should leave the country of their own volition before you have the opportunity to send your agents out, your ICE agents, with masks, with no body cameras, and with sometimes malice aforethought, in my opinion. Not all the time, but sometimes. Mr. President, we the people are not going to allow you to continue with this kind of behavior. We the people are not going to allow you to continue to do this. While you are President of the United States and the Supreme Court has given you a certain amount of immunity, allow me to place another poster before you. Mr. President, this is real. This is real, Mr. President. There is a countdown to impeachment. I have been very patient in waiting. I thought others might want to do what has to be done, and I say it has to be done. People can differ with me. I say it has to be done. It is the only tool that we have to bring you under control, to let the world know that we are opposed to what you're doing, and we're willing to take action against you. This is it. This one word, impeachment. Mr. President, I assure you, articles of impeachment are going to be filed, and they're going to be filed in the very near future, because we cannot allow the world to believe that the Congress of the United States of America will do nothing when people are being killed in the streets under circumstances that are clearly questionable, clearly unlawful in the minds of many people. I'm one of them. Under these circumstances, we have to take action. And the only action is impeachment. We in Congress can talk about a lot of things that we'll do next year. And by the way, I marvel at people who will run for office on what they're going to do, and then when they get here, they talk about what they'll do next year. Give people the impression that they're going to come here and change things, that they know things that other people don't know about the process, that they've got something called a strategic approach. And this strategic approach, they never say what it's going to be, but this strategic approach is supposed to make a difference that people who've been here for years and years and studied these things haven't made. And then when you get here, you talk about, oh, next year we're going to be really tough. We're going to be really tough when we take back the House next year. Well, some of us don't buy into waiting until next year. Some of us believe that the time is always right to do what is right. And it is right to bring impeachment against this president of the United States of America. We don't have to wait until next year. Do what you want next year when you have the power to investigate, when you have subpoena power. But most of the public wants to know what you're going to do right now. Here's what will happen right now, and it's going to happen very soon. How soon? Within weeks. Within weeks. It's going to happen. There will be articles, and they will be brought to a vote, not just filed. We're going to vote. This is a question of conscience. I want to live with myself. I want to be able to say to myself, to me, that on my watch, I did all that I could to stop a reckless, ruthless, lawless president from taking the lives of the American people. I'm Al Green, a liberated Democrat, unbought.
All right, so that's Al Green right there, calling out Trump on all his crimes against humanity. Let's go check this out real quick before I gotta go walk my dog. All right, guys, I'm gonna take off. Thanks for everyone that hung out. Appreciate it. Thanks for everyone that voted. Let's see here. Is Trump the most corrupt president ever? And a whopping 61% of you said yes. Out of 1,200 votes. The American people have spoken. Blue wave tsunami. All right, I'll catch you guys all later. All right, peace out, News Troll. Later, Amber Leslie. Later, Aloha Kitty. Later, Julian Fry. Thanks for everyone that hung out. What's up, Carlo? You ready to go? Go over there. Go over there. Go that way. Go that way. Go. 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 Sit. 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 Good boy. There you go. All right, we're gonna go on a walk. You want to? All right, sit. 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 All right, there you go. Hey, sit. Sit, boy. Sit. We're gonna go on a walk. Yeah, I'm gonna start doing more walks with Carlo. Take a break from all these politics, man. It's getting exhausting. I'll probably still hang out at nights, do some hearings here and there, but well, I'll keep it the same. I'm gonna try to do more Carlo streams, walking around, going on adventures with Carlo. All right, you guys all have a good one. We'll see what happens later. Maybe we'll check out that Todd Blanche #2 hearing happened this morning. Probably post up later and check that out. So feel free to tune in, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your Thursday. All right, later.